ராமானுஜதயாபாத்திரம் ஞானவைராக்யபூஷணம் ஸ்ரீமத்வேங்கடநாதார்யம் வந்தே வேதாந்ததேசிகம் லக்ஷ்மீநாதசமாரம்பாம் நாதயாமுனமध्यமாம் அஸ்மதாச்சாரியபர்யந்தாம் வந்தே குருபரம்பராம் யோ நித்யமच्युतपदाम्बुजयुग्मरुक्मव्यामोहतस्तदितराणि तृणाय मेने अस्मद्गुरोर्भगवतोऽस्य दयैकसिन्धोः रामानुजस्य चरणौ शरणं प्रपद्ये माता पिता युवतयस्तनया विभूतिः सर्वं यदेव नियमेन मदन्वयानाम् आद्यस्य नः कुलपतेर्वकुलाभिरामं श्रीमत्तदङ्घ्रियुगलं प्रणमामि मूर्ध्ना भूतं सरश्च महदाह्वयभट्टनाथ श्रीभक्तिसारकुलशेखरयोगिवाहान् भक्ताङ्घ्रिरेणुपरकालयतीन्द्रमिश्रान् श्रीमत्पराङ्कुशमुनिं प्रणतोऽस्मि नित्यम् नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयम् उदीरयेत् व्यासं वसिष्ठनप्तारं शक्तेः पौत्रम् अकल्मषं पराशरात्मजं वन्दे शुकतातं तपोनिधिं व्यासाय विष्णुरूपाय व्यासरूपाय विष्णवे नमो वै ब्रह्मनिधये वासिष्ठाय नमो नमः। अचतुर्वदनोर्ब्रह्माद्विबाहुरपरो हरिः अफाललोचनः शम्भुः भगवान् बादरायणः पाराशर्यवचःसुधां सुमनसः दुग्धाब्धिमध्योद्धृतां संसाराग्निविदीपनव्यपगतप्राणात्मसञ्जीवनीं पूर्वाचार्यसुरक्षितां बहुमतिं व्याघातदूरस्थिताम् आनीतां तु निजाक्षरैः सुमनसः भौमाः पिबन्त्वन्वहम्। निगमकल्पतरोः गलितं फलं शुकमुखात् अमृतद्रवसंयुतं पिबत भागवत रसमालयं मुहुरहो रसिकाः भुवि भावुकाः। वन्दे वृन्दावनचरं वल्लवीजनवल्लभं जयन्ती सम्भवं धाम वैजयन्ती विभूषणम् वाचं निजाङ्करसिकां प्रसमीक्षमाणः वक्त्रारविन्दविनिवेशितपाञ्चजन्यः वर्णत्रिकोणरुचिरे वरपुण्डरीके बद्धासनो जयति वल्लभचक्रवर्ती आम्नाय गन्धरुधितस्फुरितदरोष्ठम् आत्स्लाविलेक्षणमनुक्षतमन्दहासं गोपालडिम्बवपुषं कुहना जनन्याः प्राणस्य नन्दनमवैमि परं पुमांसम् आविर्भवत्यनिभृताभरणं पुरस्तात् आकुञ्चितैकचरणं निभृतान्यपादम् दध्नानिमन्तमुखरेण निबद्धतालं नाथस्य नन्दभवने नवनीतनाट्यम् हर्तुं कुम्भे विनहितकरः स्वादुहय्यङ्गवीणं दृष्ट्वा दामग्रहणचटुलां मातरं जातरोषां पायादीशत् प्रचलितपदो नापगच्छन्न तिष्ठन् मिथ्या गोपः सपदि नयने मीलयन् विश्वगोप्ता व्रजयोषितपाङ्गवेधनीयं मधुरा भाग्यमनन्यभोग्यमीडे वसुदेववधूस्तनन्दयं तत् किमपि ब्रह्मकिशोरभावदृश्यम् अधराहितचारुवंशनालाः मकुटालम्बिमयूरपिञ्छमालाः हरिनीलशिलाविभङ्गनीलाः प्रतिभासन्तु ममान्तिमः प्रयाणे जानकीकान्तस्मरणं गोपिकाजीवनस्मरणम्। With the abundant blessings of Paramatma and the benign grace of the Alvars and the Acharyas, we are on day 5 of the Srimad Bhagavata Saptaham, which is a Shravana Yajnam. In the Purva Charitram, we have discussed the circumstances that led to the birth of Srimad Bhagavata Mahapuranam, the greatness of the Vakta called as Shuka Brahmam, the greatness of the Shrota called as Parikshit Chakravarti, the Vishayam, the topic, the content, which is very important, which is the essence of Paramatma Vaibhavam through the various incarnations, avataram, as presented by Shuka Brahmam to Parikshit. That said, we also had the opportunity to discuss briefly. I keep adding the word briefly because every avataram, trust me, it at least deserves, if I have to do justice to Kurma avataram, let's say just Kurma avataram, 2 hours a day, comfortably, if there are about 3-4 days, I can do justice because I'll be able to compare the verses from Ramayanam, the Adi Parva of Sri Mahabharatam, Bhagavatham, and then we can also try to see if there are any geographic events associated with Kurmavataram. See what are all the temples which are associated in Bharatadesham with Kurmavataram. Is there a temple for Mohini in, see, we deal with so many avatarams. Is there a temple for Mohini avataram? Mohini Alankaram. So the Lord does Mohini Alankaram, a deity in the form of Mohini avataram. There is a temple in Andhra. It's a very old temple. It is dedicated to Mohini avataram. So we will be able to discuss in detail. But this is all a scenario that I wish. It may not happen. 5 days for Kurma avataram, 3 days for Matsya avataram, then it will go like a mandalam, 48 days, what Anantarama Dikshitar used to give. 7 days, you are all very gracious enough, magnanimous enough to come for 7 days. 48 days, then only Dwaraka Swamin and I will be seated. So, given the limited time, we were able to briefly discuss the avatarams like Kurma avataram, Varaha. Along with Varaha, we discussed the 2 shlokams called Varaha Charama Shlokam. We discussed Nisimha avataram. We relished Vamana Trivikrama avataram. Now, many devotees asked me if there is mention of Rama avataram. You have discussed Dhruva Charitram, Prutu Charitram, Dakshayajnam, Rishabhanatha avataram, Kapilopadesham. Why is Rama avataram not included? Rama avataram is there in Bhagavatam. It is there in the Navama Skandam. There is description of Sri Rama avataram. But while mentioning Rama avataram briefly, Shuka Brahmam says, Parikshit, Purva Suribihi, people who were born prior to me, many millennia back, such great Atmas have discussed Rama's life history in detail. So he says, in other words, there is Ramayanam for you to refer to. While you're dealing with chemistry and especially organic chemistry, why shouldn't I know about potassium permanganate? Generally that will come in inorganic. So what they would do is, as discussed in the previous chapters, they will say one line. Similarly, he says, Purva Suribihi, Valmiki has already discussed. If you want to know more, go to valmikiramayana.net and learn from there, Shuka Brahmam. Parikshit, he said. But to bring the essence of Bhagavatam into Narayaniyam, Bhattadri uses the poetic license and deploys 2 dashakams, 34 and 35th dashakam in Narayaniyam, which is completely dedicated to Ramavataram. Girvanair Arthyamano Dashamukha Nidhanam Kosaleshvrishya Shringe Putriya Mishtimishtva Dadushi Dasharathaksma Bhrite Payasagryam Tad Bhuktva Tad Purandhrishvapi Trishu Susamam Jatagarbha Sujato Ramastvam Lakshmanena Swayam Atha Bharatena Api Shatrughna Namna. Begins the Chandas, and for 2 dashakams he discusses Ramavataram in detail. So similarly, I have to tell you, given the time constraints we have, Ramayanam is a separate topic. If I remember right, I think the last time I came, I discussed Ramayanam in detail in Dallas. But the beauty about Upanyasams is, it is like engineering semester. You don't have to carry on what you have remembered for that semester after you give those exams. Next semester, you can forget what you have learned the previous semester and go. So Upanyasams are also like semesters. So now we are in the 4th semester, because I have come for the 4th time here. So first 3 times gone. So that should not be the thing. That is why notes are important. Then at least you will not accuse me you didn't tell. You will at least have notes to support. So Rama Avataram I won't discuss. Parashurama Avataram, it does feature. It does feature in Ramayanam as well as Bhagavatam. Very briefly. So Parashurama is described as an Amsha Avataram who was very valorous. Though he was born into a Brahmana Kulam, he was very valorous. So thereby he wanted to avenge the death of his father called Jamadagni, which was meted at the hands of Kartavirya Arjuna, who was the leader of Mahishmati. Mahishmati is the current day Maheshwar. In Madhya Pradesh, you have that on the banks of river Narmada. That Maheshwar gives rise to the silk called Maheshwari silk, if you have heard. So that's the place called Mahishmati. So in Mahishmati, the king used to rule. His name was Kartavirya Arjuna. He was the one who was the cause of Parashurama's father's death, Jamadagni's death. So Parashurama went on a rampage. He went and killed Kartavirya Arjuna, and his vow was, I will kill every other possible Kshatriya. It was a Kshatra genocide in those days. So he did something very barbaric, uncivilized. He used to collect the blood and then used to make 5 pits out of it. It is called Panchakam, and used to do Tarpanam to his father in blood. Syamanta Panchakam it is called. So that is why we don't have many temples for Parashurama. If the avatara doesn't showcase gunas which are worth getting inspired from for the human beings, such avatars will not be venerated. Even if they are very rarely venerated, it will be for one of the qualities that they possess. Yes, he was like that, but there is one quality that we can learn from him. That's all. So this Parashurama went to such an extent that this is cited in Ayodhya Kandam, where he even beheaded his own mother. And then this mother is later revered amongst the villagers as a Grama Devata. Her name is Renuka Devi. Renuka Devi samrakshitoham anisham Renuka Devi Venuvadyadinuta Vijayanagara sthite Manikya Bhushani Madhura Rasabhashini Bana Sadrisakshini Parashurama Janani Konatrayavasini Guru Guha Vishwasini Kannada Bhangale Gandharva Bhanjani Renuka Devi. Very rare composition in the ragam Kannada Bhangala by Muthuswami Dikshitar, who celebrates Parashurama's mother. So now that we have covered a lot of the avatarams, there are a few pending portions what I had to cover yesterday. I shall cover Matsya Avataram now. Kalenagata nidrasya dhatuhu shishaishor bali mukhato nistrutan vedan hayagrivoontike harat. So there was an asura called Hayagriva. Sir, Hayagriva is a deity, Jnananandamayam Devam. So there were 2 Hayagrivas. Hayagriva 1.0 is the Lord's Avataram. 2.0 is an asura. So this Hayagriva is said to have abducted the quintessential knowledge, the Vedic knowledge that Brahma possessed. See, today knowledge can be in any form. One books, one in our own memory. It can be in the form of data as well. So we give all the data. So our knowledge is in fact I would say our Atma is in our mobile phone. Just imagine a situation. Now, just check if your mobiles are next to you. Even then, just imagine for a minute that your mobile is lost. Mobile is lost. What will be the reaction? Immediately I can see some of the Atmas going up. Because all our knowledge is in that mobile phone. We have outsourced that. So, knowledge can be in any form. Here, knowledge was in the form of memory packets in Brahma. In Kalakshepa Parampara, we often confuse Upanyasam, Kalakshepam, Harikatha. We get confused. They won't know how to address me, whether I'm Harikatha artist, Upanyasam artist. Upanyasam is the art of rendering discourses, pravachanam. Harikatha is a tradition of interspersing it with music. And essentially some elements of it were borrowed from the Maratha regime in Tanjavur. So there will be some amount of Marathi abhangs in it. That is Harikatha. Kalakshepam is a technical word where kala means time. Kshepam, kshipa, dhatu is a verb which is used to throw. So to throw, to waste, it is called kshepa, kshipa. So kalakshepa means technically it should mean wasting time. You may think, we know that, sir, for the last few days. But I told you about Grama Simham that day. Did I tell you? When two words come together, they essentially don't have to be a medley of their meanings. It will be dire opposite to it. So kala, kshepa, you bring together means spending time usefully. So this is kalakshepam. Now in the kalakshepa parampara, one, you can treat this as an upanyasam. This is not kalakshepam. Kalakshepam technically in Sri Vaishnava Sampradayam is under closed doors you will learn esoteric meaning of your mantras from your acharya. So when I used to be Sishya under my acharyas who used to teach me Vedanta, they used to go on and on and on. And Vedanta will not be as entertaining or as engaging as this. What content comes through Upanyasam will be fairly comprehensible, relatable, purukable. But when you come across Kalakshepam, it may be terse. So when will the teacher know to stop the Kalakshepam? A rule states, when the student yawns, the teacher has to stop. Because there is a belief in the Shastra Parampara that if you're listening to Brahma Jnanam and in the middle you yawn, what you have heard until then will go volatile. Don't even try. Kalena gata nidrasya. So Brahma yawned. Kalena gata nidrasya dhatuhu shishaishor bali mukhato nistrutan vedan hayagrivoontike harat. When he yawned, the knowledge packets that he had were stolen by an asura called Hayagriva. Whether it happened really or it is symbolic of knowledge being lost. Now, Brahma started crying because whatever he had gained through immense austerities, which is knowledge, was lost. So he started crying. Then he appealed to his father, Sriman Narayana, and said, see, I have lost. A kindergarten child will leave the book in the school and come and then cry. Similarly, he started crying, what do I do now? That is when the Lord was wanting to check where that knowledge is. The Puranam states they were found in the deep depth of the oceans. So the only way to retrieve was to come in the form of an organism or a being which loves to stay within the waters. Here, one poet says, Bhuyishtam tava drishtireva kamale bhutim chirat proshitam bhuyopyanayati kshanaditi nrinam vaktum ghrinaavaradhihi devastavaka drishtirupamanagham meenavatare vahan dhatre dattasatam shriyam shrutimayim daityapanitam punaha, says Venkatadhvari Kavi in Lakshmi Sahasram. We know when the Lord reclines, Mahalakshmi presses his legs. If I tell like this, it was very easy for Anantarama Dikshitar to say all this. If I tell this, immediately they will stand up. Why can't he press her legs? He may be pressing in the night, we don't know. So, this Vokeshwara, Vokanayaka, Vokapriya, Vokapujita, their minds will be working all the time. Where to find and how to intervene. Now, the Lord, while his eyes are being described in the Puranas and in the Vedanta, everywhere it will say that the Lord's eyes are akin to the petals of a newly blossomed lotus. Take a newly blossomed lotus, take two petals, put it on his face. Those will be his eyes. They are so beautiful, large, and they are like the petals of a newly blossomed lotus. Everywhere you go, Chandogya Upanishad, Tatha Kapyasam Pundarikamevam Akshini. You come to Ramayanam, Dasharatha says, I will not send my son. Una shodasha varsho me Ramo Rajiva Lochanaha. I will not send my son along with you. Una shodasha varsho me Ramaha Rajiva Lochanaha. I won't send my son along with you, Vishwamitra. Rajiva Lochan. My son has got eyes like that of a newly blossomed lotus. Shurpanaka. I told you about her nose damage, right? She goes and complains to Khara and Dushana. She has to go and abuse Rama. She says, you know who has done this to me? Khara, Dushana, those two men, especially the one who has got lotus-like eyes, cut my nose. Will you ever say something like this? Somebody has damaged your body part, you're going and praising that person. She says, Tarunau Rupa Sampannau Sukumarau Mahabalau Pundarika Vishalakshau. Later in Krishna Avataram, Duryodhana calls out his Sambandhi. That is his son-in-law's father, Shambha's father, Krishna. So he says, Krishna, you have not stayed in my house. Bhishma Drona Vratikramya Mamschaiva Madhusudana Kimartham Pundarikaksha. So everywhere, the Puranas, the Vedanta, the Alvar Pasurams, they all describe that the Lord's eyes are akin to the petals of a lotus. Now, his feet are being pressed by the beautiful hands of Mahalakshmi. You know, there is a beautiful work called as Malati Madhavam. Has anyone heard of this? Just heard. One. Malati, one, two. Malati Madhavam. This is a beautiful work. From that Malati Madhavam, there is one verse cited by a commentator 1,000 years back. He just tells the students, he cites one line from this work and says that the man kept pressing the heroine's feet. He says, oh, your feet are so beautiful like the lotus. So he cites this line, and while describing this, the student asks a question, sir, you're describing about Paramatma, and suddenly you're quoting some mundane couple, some mama, mommy, how that mama is pressing mommy's legs. That doesn't fit in the Vedanta, he says. Why are you quoting that? The Acharya says, I'm quoting to let us know at least that we should not engage in such practices. All our services should go only to Paramatma. So he shows this as a line. Now coming back to the point, Mahalakshmi keeps pressing the leg. Now the Lord keeps both his eyes, he pays attention only to Mahalakshmi, because Mahalakshmi, when she is described, Padma Priye, Padmini, Padmahaste, Padmalaye, Padmadalayatakshi, so Padmagandhini. So if you look at her, she is described as the one whose face is like a lotus, whose palms are like lotus, the one who carries lotuses in her palms, the one who has got sports a beautiful garland that is of lotuses, the one who sits on a lotus, the one who smells like a newly blossomed lotus. You know, the smell of a lotus is also good, it seems. Andal asks, Kam karpuram narumo, kamala punarmo. So that Mahalakshmi has the smell of a lotus. So Samudrika Lakshana Shastram says the one who is naturally fragrant as a lotus is called Padmini. Padmini means they should not apply any deodorant. If you go near them, they should smell like lotus. Then they are called Padmini. So the Lord keeps looking at Mahalakshmi, whose face is like a lotus, palms are like lotus, the one who holds lotus, the one who sports the garland of a lotus, the one who is seated on the lotus with the fragrance of lotus. But when he looks at her, especially her eyes, he spots that her eyes are like that of a fish. Everything is related to the lotus except her eyes are like a fish. Now he was inspired that even I should have eyes like that of a fish. He kept looking at her. He couldn't get eyes like her, so he became the fish. So the poet says, Devastavaka drishti roopamanagam meenavatare vahan. He kept looking at her eyes. Madurayil paranda meen kodiyai un kangalil kandene. Then he became the fish. But when he became the fish, how were the eyes of the fish? Like a lotus. Puranam says, Matsyaha kamala lochanaha. So she is associated with the lotus. Her eyes are like the fish. He is the fish, but his eyes are like that of a lotus. So Vedanta Deshika says, Nirmagna Shrutijala Margana Dasha Dattakshanai Vikshanai Antastanvadivara Vindagahanan Audanvati Namapan Nishpratyuha Taranga Ringanamithaf Pratyudha Patas Chatam Dolaroha Sadohalam Bhagavato Matsyam Vapufpatunaha. He celebrates Matsyavataram. Now the Lord had to go in search of the lost bubbles which were as knowledge packets. He retrieved them, gave them back to Brahma, and meanwhile killed Hayagriva, the one who had stolen them. Meanwhile, we need to understand that there was a king called Satyavrata in the Dramida Desham. Dramida Desham is the Tamil speaking region. So this Dramida, Dravida, Dramila, these are all Sanskritam words that have been coming in our scriptures. Even if you take Srimad Ramayanam, Kaikeyi swoons, she lies on the floor. She is not waking up. She is in Kopa Bhavanam. There is one room in Ayodhya. If you are angry, you have to go to that room. It is called Kopa Bhavanam. So Kaikeyi was lying on the floor. Dasharatha was shocked, shell-shocked to note that his favorite wife, page 3 wife, is angry. So he goes and convinces her. Ramam Shape, I promise in the name of Rama. Kaikeyi, get up. Till then, while he convinces her, he says, what do you want, Kaikeyi? Do you want the Jigardanda? What do you want? Bolo to sahi. Putarekulu kavala miko. Andhra Desha minchi Putarekulu kavala. Do you want the Shundesh from Bengal? Do you want the Undhiyo from Gujarat? What do you want? That time he uses the word Sindhu Sauviraha cha Dravidaha. Whichever country you want, I will source them from. Dravidaha, he says. So Dravida, the Shabdam finds a mention. But the beauty about Dravida Shabdam is, the Shabdam is Sanskritam in origin. It is not a Tamil word. So technically, if you say that I will not say any Sanskritam word, you cannot use this word. There is a big problem here. But who wants to patiently listen? See, if you listen, you will become knowledgeable. But if you are vowed not to go anywhere close to the periphery of knowledge, that is when you will keep shouting with no substance. Now, Sahi Shri Ramrita Satamiti Nanutva Manadheya Shrayat. So the Satyavrata, the Raja, while he was taking the waters from Kritamala. Who is Kritamala? Vaijayantimala's sister. Who is Kritamala? Very good. Vaigai river in Madurai is called Kritamala. So while he was taking the waters of Kritamala, he found a beautiful fish lying within the waters, within those two palms. He could have immediately put that fish into the waters. What he did was, he thought, let me protect and preserve this fish. And he put that into a kamandalam. It grew. Then he said, this is finding it very tough to go. From condo, we have to go to an independent house. Like that, he said, I'll take this fish and keep that in kamandalam. It grew further. Then he put that into a bigger vessel. Finally, he came to Kritamala. And he said, I'll put. That is when in the yogic vision, the fish said, in a few days from now, this place called Madura, which is Madurai, will undergo deluge. So some parts of it will be flooded. So you will, as a king, you have to support your administration, carry specimens of flora and fauna. Which means, see, even when we go from one house to the other, if we have made some beautiful plants in that house, we may take some saplings of it. So he took them along with Sapta Rishis, kept them in a boat, positioned himself in the boat, and the boat had to be ferried. Who will be the GPS? The fish said, I will be the GPS. So this fish had a horn. Says Puranam, Shringi. You know, in Sahasranamam, you get this Namam, Shringi. Parashara Bhatta comments, in Matsyavataram, the one who had a beautiful Shringam, horn. Now you may ask, sir, will fishes have horn? Yes. There is one species called as longhorn cowfish. It has horns. I don't know the binomial name. It is called Lactoria or Noctoria, some name. Longhorn cowfish. Go check that. Everything we have to refer and come. They will say whether the fish has horns. Will humans have horns? I used to believe humans have horns till I saw Onida advertisement. So, prapte twadukte hanivari dhara pariplute bhumitale munindraha saptarshibhi sardhamapara yushnyanya ghurmanaha sharanam yayotvam. So, while being ferried in the yogic posture, quintessential knowledge was imparted by the Lord in the form of Matsya to Satyavrata. Now you may ask, sir, did Madurai undergo deluge? Even the Sangam texts mention that between the first and the second Sangam, there was deluge in Madurai. So there is mention in the Sangam text as well. So Matsyavataram is a beautiful avataram that restored the Vedic quintessence and shared the knowledge of Vedic quintessence. Meenatanustvam na vinidhaya sthirachara parikara manu manu bhagavan vedasanabhistvokti vinodaihi akalitalaya bhaya laya manumavamaha, says Parashara Bhatta. 1. Next I am going to take you, this is Matsyavataram. See, food is an essential commodity for us. Shastram doesn't say you should not eat. We can eat really well. All our cuisines have been shared with us for generations together. But it says that give some rest time to your digestive system. At least once in 15 days. What is that day? Ekadashi, at least you have to give. All Shastra, all the Rishi Vakyams, Aikakantyam means unanimously state that Harivasaram. Remember, Ekadashi is also called Harivasaram. So on that day you have to fast. I know, because of lot of other constraints, even if festivals fall on weekdays, you may end up celebrating on weekends. But Ekadashi Vratam alone, you cannot do that way. If Ekadashi falls on Wednesday, you cannot fast for Ekadashi on Saturday. You have to fast on Wednesday. Now, many of us are attached to our own, we'll have our own Ishta Devata. Some may fast on Monday for one deity, Tuesday for another deity, Wednesday for Rajinikanth, Thursday for Vijaykant. We may do. But all those fasting processes that you do out of devotion is commendable. But it is not as per Shastram. Shastram says Harivasaram you have to fast. If you don't want to fast, leave it. You cannot fast one day. No sir, intermittent fasting is very good. Even my dietitian says. Dietitian may not give moksha. So, Mokshadata Bhagavan says Harivasaram you have to fast. So how do we fast on Ekadashi? There are various rules to it. First rule, Nirjalam. Not even a drop of water. They go to the extent that you should not swallow your saliva also. Sir, so you have to start fasting from the time around 6:30, 7 p.m. of Dashami Tithi till 7:30 to 8 a.m. of Dwadashi Tithi. So it comes to about 36 to 37 hours of fasting. Rule number 1. But see, if we are taking metformin plus glimepiride tablets, our endocrinologists will say, don't go on empty stomach. What do? Then the rishis are very flexible. They say option 2, phala aharam. Have some fruit. We will go to the highest degree of plural in the word fruit. Fruits. But that will have fructose. Then some dietitian will say, oh, I don't know, all doctors and dietitians have to sit together and come up with the Anhika Grantham. Because no two dietitians agree. One dietitian will say, no, you take the starch out of rice. Our ancestors have been having rice, have rice. The other dietitian will say, no rice at all. And the art, quinoa. So have that food, quinoa. Now, why do they say quinoa? If your food is bland, obviously you will get interest in moksha. Ichuva ittavirayan poi indiralogam alum. I will better go there. Why to have this quinoa? Huh? So, then comes the next part. Sir, fruits alone, I am not a big fan of fruits. Then they say, don't have rice directly. Some of my friends, while I used to study in Pilani, they used to say, we North Indians, we do Nitya Ekadashi. Because there is no rice. Right? So then there is another rule our grandmothers have found. You cannot have rice directly. You can break the rice and have. Then it can become idli and dosa with 3 chutneys. So, then next option, rice. Last option is rice. So, Ekadashi, try your level best. See, you try one day. I keep telling this in my lectures, I get abuses for this also. Try reducing your food quantity. You will be able to concentrate more on listening and reading. The more we eat, then we will have lesser time because we will become tired. So, lesser time to food, less time to sleep. Of course, the doctors say 8 hours of sleep. I don't know. I'm not a medical practitioner. I should not say something which is not told by the doctors. But our acharyas have slept for 4-5 hours and have done wonders. Sleeping for 8 hours, what have we achieved? We have been sleeping. So, this Ekadashi Vratam, why I am talking about Ekadashi is there was a Raja called Ambarisha. Ambarisha used to be a staunch devotee of the Lord and he used to practice Ekadashi Vratam. He was practicing this Ekadashi twice a month, 24 times to 25 times a year, very rigorously, very sincerely with his wife. Apparently on one Ekadashi, Durvasa Maharishi came. He came on the day of Dwadashi Tithi. Next day to Ekadashi is Dwadashi. The food that's consumed as the first meal on Dwadashi in Sanskritam is called Parana. In Tamil we make it Paranai. But the Sanskritam word is Parana. Vedanta Deshika says Parana Karanam Naha. So this Parana, since you have fasted, our ancestors have come up with a very good menu. You should not have lot of tamarind. You should have that more korambu. You should have little more korambu. Andre Kannadadalli majjige huli anta heltivi alve. Majjige huli alva? Telugulo em cheptaru? Majjige pulusu. More korambu in Malayalam? More korambu. Adu konjam vera mari solita I don't know. North, you have to add little basin and make that kadi. So you should have that. Then have gooseberry paste. Then have Agastya Shakha. Agastya Shakha is a type of spinach. It's called Agatti. Agastya Shakha. This is the menu given by our Acharya. This food is called Parana. On Ekadashi day, again one more request, if you're all having marriages in your houses, please do not fix marriage, muhurtam on an Ekadashi day. You may ask why? Ekadashi is a good day, but you should not serve food to others on that day. But if you are financially very constrained and you don't want to serve, then keep it on Ekadashi. That is also good. No. So, when Durvasa Maharishi came, Ambarisha felt very happy because on Dwadashi you have to serve a Bhagavatottama. So he said, I'm very happy Durvas ji. So Durvasa said, I will go take bath in the close by river and come. It was 7, he left, 7:15, 7:30, 7:45, he used shampoo, conditioner, this, that. It took over 1.5 hours. The time for breaking that Parana was getting over. Tatra thaparanadine bhavadarchanante durvasa sasya munina bhavanam prapede bhoktum vritascha sanripena. Look at the beauty. Now he doesn't return. Till about 8:30 he doesn't come. So Ambarisha is a lot worried. He gets worked up. He says, for all these Ekadashis I have been rigorously following, Durvasa hasn't come. So let me wait till Durvasa comes. But at least let me complete my vratam. Let me have the Tulasi Jalam. And while he was consuming, imagine you're a movie director, he's consuming in that gap from behind, Durvasa comes. Durvasa gets angry. Bhoktum vritascha sanripena pararti shilaha. Pararti shilaha. What was Durvasa's name? Bhattadri says, the one whose pastime was to let others suffer and take pleasure out of it. Pararti shilaha. His only pastime was to make others trouble. Pararti shilaha mandam jagamaya munam niyaman vidhasyan. The moment he saw Ambarisha consume those tulasi waters, he got worked up. And it is said that he threw some parts of his hair and created a kritya. These acts, we generally position them as occult, which is black magic. So a kritya was formed. It was programmed to go and chase Ambarisha. The scanf, that was the input statement. You have to go and hit. Now as Kritya left, immediately intervened Sudarshana Chakra. Sudarshana Chakra started chasing Kritya. See, Kritya is like a firefly. Sudarshana Chakram is like a blazing fire. So the fire, which is Sudarshana Chakram, started chasing the firefly like Kritya, which in turn started chasing Durvasa. So Durvasa was being chased by both Kritya and Chakram. So Durvasa goes, knocks at everybody's door for help. Everybody has said, do not disturb, privacy please. Then finally he goes to Vaikuntham 2.0, which is called Karya Vaikuntham. He tells, oh Lord, control your chakram. Tell Ambarisha to take that chakram back. The Lord then says, I think Durvasa, you have mistaken. You've been assuming that my devotees are subservient to me just because they offer their services to me, their love to me, their unconditional love to me. You are under the assumption that they are subservient to me. You're mistaken, Durvasa. I am subservient to my devotees. What they ask, I will do. There was a king in Kanchipuram while he was being driven by his Sarathi in the streets of Kanchipuram. He saw a beautiful woman. He asked, I've never seen you in Kanchipuram. Who are you? She said, sir, I used to live here. I just look like anybody else. But you know, by the grace of one great Acharya who lives in Kanchipuram, look at my form now. I look so resplendent and radiant, ain't I? Who is that who has made you such a beautiful damsel? She says, there is a guru here called Bhakti Sara. He has made me like this. So immediately the king summons that Bhakti Sara's Sishya called Kani Kannan. Kani Kanna, come here. Call your guru, Bhakti Sara, and make me like this, like a hero. That is when Kanikandan says, see, my guru is not employed to make people beautiful. It is out of his sheer grace that which fell on her incessantly that she turned into a piece of spotless beauty. The king got perturbed. He said, when a king is speaking, you're giving me an answer back. So thereby, I excommunicate you from Kanchipuram. Get out of Kanchipuram. Kanikandan said, if the Raja says I have to follow, I will leave. While leaving, he goes to his guru called Bhakti Sara. In Tamil, he is referred to as Tirumalizai Piran. He goes and tells his guru, sir, I have been asked to go out of the city. I will go. I wanted to take leave of you. The guru said, see, I am called a guru because I have one Sishya called you. Even if the Sishya leaves, why will I be called guru? So I will come along with you. While Kanikanna was leaving and his guru Bhakti Sara Tirumalizai Piran was also leaving, the Lord who was reclining on the serpent couch called Vega Setu, he looked with pitiable eyes to Bhakti Sara and said, see, I am Swami and you are my Dasa. If the Dasa leaves, how can I be Swami? I also want to come with you there. That is when Bhakti Sara said, Kanigandan pogindran kamarum pookachi tamarai kanna nee ingirukka venda. Nee undan paina happaye shuruttikkol. See, if you can't live without me, follow me. He told the Lord. And paina agappaye shuruttikkol. Take that serpent couch of yours, which is like a sleeping mat, roll it, keep it like a yoga mat and come behind me. Nee undan paina happaye shuruttikkol, like hold all and come. The Lord, in his yogic vision, went away. The moment the Sanidhyam was lost, Kanchipuram's all silk saree shops, all their jaris started fading. Babusha, Badusha, Varalakshmi, SM, Poti, Varadharam, Srinivasa, Shweta, all of them, all their silk jaris, they all got muted and they turned dark. Immediately they went and told, sir, we will not be able to give you GST this month. No sales at all. Then the Raja realized that the Sanidhyam is lost because he has hurt a devotee. So he goes to that village where Bhaktisara, his student and the Lord were tentatively stationed for one night. Or iravu irukkai, or irukkai, orikkai. They stay. Then he brings them back. When he came back, Kanikandan came, so did the Acharya and so did the Lord. The Lord was waiting for the command from Bhaktisara. The Lord said, should I have to tell you all this? Kanikandan vandozhindan kamarum poongachi tamarai kanna nee ingirukka vendum undan painagapaye virithukkol. Now extend that and sleep. The Lord did. He asked him to come, he followed. Go back, came. Came, sleep, he slept. What the devotee says, he follows. Yatha uktakari, yathoktakari. In Tamil, he is called Sonna Vannam Seida Peruman. That is what the Lord tells Ambarisha. Aham bhakta paradhinaha yasvantantra ivadvija sadhubir grasta hridayo bhaktair bhakta jana priyaha. I am subservient to my devotees. Please realize this truth. Durvasa. That is when Durvasa runs to Ambarisha and says, Ambarisha, please forgive me. Let's be good friends. I just told like this, you got angry for that. Ambarisha said, oh, is Chakras chasing you? Sudarshan? Mat aisa mat karo. Sudarshana namastubhyam sahasrarachyuta priyaha sarvastra ghatin vipraya swasti bhuya idaspate. Tvam dharmastvam amritam satyatvam yajñokhila yajñabhuk tvam lokapalaha sarvatma tvam teja paurusham param. That is when he takes that chakram back and Durvasa is saved. So this Ambarisha Charitram tells the greatness of the power attached to a Bhagavatottama. So treat the devotees well. Then the Lord will automatically be in your heart. That is why it is Bhagavatam. Bhagavatas are more important. When I talk about Ekadashi, Vratam, Krishna, though there are many kshetrams for Krishna, from my upbringing, I have had a great attachment to this beautiful Sannidhi of Sri Guruvayur. So the Gambhiryam voice that used to engulf my ears, from Sengalipuram Anantarama Dikshitar to Brahma Sri Sundar Kumaranna to P. Leela to Malliyur Swami is there in my ears. So I will just try attempting one Malayalam song. I said attempting. Guruvayur ekadashi toluvan pogumbol vazhikattuga narayana roopam hari narayana roopam. Guruvayur ekadashi toluvan pogumbol vazhikattuga narayana roopam hari narayana roopam. Narayana Rubam Neyunnu Pidambarami Sandhegal Ravam Payellam Varkunnu Pal Madhuriyallo Neyunnu Pidambarami Sandhegal Ravam Payellam Varkunnu Pal Madhuriyallo Odakulaludunnu Kadellam Bhagavan Chudunnu Rubili Tirumudiyo Malamegam Odakulaludunnu Kadellam Bhagavan Chudunnu Rubili Tirumudiyo Malamegam Garudan Bolakasham Chiragar Needumbol Vanamalegal Tirkunnu Malavillugalipol Garudan Bolakasham Chiragar Needumbol Vanamalagal Tirkunnu Malavillugalipol നിരകണ്ണാൽ കാണുന്നേ എങ്കെങ്കിലും സ്വാമി ഗുരുവായൂരപ്പ നിൻ കൃഷ്ണാട്ടം മാത്രം. നിരകണ്ണാൽ കാണുന്നേ എങ്കെങ്കിലും സ്വാമി ഗുരുവായൂരപ്പ നിൻ കൃഷ്ണാട്ടം മാത്രം. നിൻ കൃഷ്ണാട്ടം മാത്രം. Krishnattam is a beautiful, I don't know if you have been to Guruvayur. Krishnattangali is a beautiful dance form that is presented every day before Krishna. So Guruvayur is an experience, Narayaniyam is an experience, Bhagavatham is an experience. One of the other charitrams that comes in the later part of Ekadasha Skandam, which is generally, I have the habit of coupling it on the 5th day. There was a great Maharshi called Mrikandu. In the lineage of Mrikandu came the boy called as Markandeya. They were great devotees of Lord Shiva, Mahadeva, Rudramurti. So this kshetram is very close to Mayiladurai, Mayavaram in the south of India and Tamil Nadu. This place is called as Tirukkadayur. So Markandeya used to live there. Of course, it is said that his father was given a choice to have a primitive mortal as his son for a very long time or choose to have an intellectual son for a shorter lifespan. He chose the latter, so was born the boy. He was extremely talented, a prodigial son. But one day while he was doing Archana to Shiva, Amrita Ghateshwara of Tirukkadayur, as he was doing Archana and held his arms, took his arms, extended and hugged the lingam. At that point in time, Yamadeva came because as per his accounts, he had to take away the Jivatma from that body. At that point in time, he came on his buffalo, which is his Vadham. He took that noose and spread it on him. By mistake, the noose also went on the lingam, and while he tried pulling, it is said that Shiva arose from the lingam as Kalasamhara Murti and said, "You may be discharging your duty, but he is my Sishya. But you have been ordained to take when he completes 16 years, right? Yama, I bless my dear Sishya, my dear devotee, Markandeya, that he shall never complete 16. Only if he completes 16. So if you look at his, see generally in Excel sheet, if you put that date of birth, with the formula it will show you the age. But even after pulling that, the formula will not work for Markandeya. It will always show 16. So he will always sing Sindura Pove. Now, this Markandeya was eternally living. Eternally living is also a problem. We have discussed in the case of Bhishmacharya's Ichhamrityu Varam. So now Markandeya went and told Mahadeva, Rudramurti, Swami, please give me moksha so that I don't have to be born on this earth. Mahadeva said, see, that department is different. Arogyam Bhaskaraj Ichet, Shriyam Ichet, Hutashanat. Ishvaraha Jnanamanvichet, Moksham Ichet, Janardanat. Moksham comes under a different department. See, if you take one file to one department in India, they'll say, Illilla sir. ನೀವು ಆ ಕಡೆ BSW ಇದೆಯಲ್ವಾ, ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಹೋಗಬೇಕು, ಅದು ಬಸವನಗುಡಿಯಲ್ಲಿದೆ, ಏನು ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೀರಾ? ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಟೋನ್ ವಿಲ್ ಬಿ ಇನ್ ಬೆಂಗಳೂರು, ಇನ್ ಚೆನ್ನೈ, ನೀ ಹಂಗ போயிருக்கணும், நீ அதுக்கு இங்கே வந்த. So that will be, they say that there is no aging for the Jivatma, so no respect is given. So he said you have to go to Janardana. That is when he came to a kshetram filled with lotus shrubs, plants. And amidst that he saw a little girl who was abandoned. This girl had the resplendence, the prosperity of Mahalakshmi, which is Ma, and the patience that was floating on her face of that of Bhu. So she was called Bhuma. He brought this girl up. One day, while he was seated on the pedestal outside his house, one old man walked by and he said, "Sir, I have been searching for a girl for marriage." Immediately Markandeya asked, "Is it for your grandson?" This old man said, "No, for me." You're 1 foot on the grave? You're searching. I heard you have a daughter. Now Markandeya didn't want to be the object of this man's curse. So he said, "I'll call my daughter." Bhuma! That Bhuma came. This Tata is asking if he's smart. What Markandeya was expecting was, she'll say, "Hey, he has got no teeth," and all of that. No, she started feeling the coyness in her. కల కల మనోముఖ పలుగలిగిన సీత కులుకుచును ఓర కన్నులను జూచే నిన్ను కన కన రుచిర ఓర కన్నులను జూచే నిన్ను. She saw through the side glances. She said, how smart he is with bell bottoms, pant and curly hair. This man, this old man. Now Markandeya did not want this to happen. He said, see, she doesn't even know how much of salt to put. There is no use, don't. That man said, my doctor has advised to go saltless. And then he realized this girl is Mahalakshmi and the one who had come was Sakshat Mahavishnu, and that kshetram is called Uppu Illa Appan. Saltless God, matchless God. Uppu in Tamil means match. Uppu Illa Appan, matchless. Uppu means salt. Uppu Illa Appan, he is saltless and matchless. Now Markandeya wanted moksham. Then he went to Sarakshetram, which is called Tirucherai. He prayed to the Lord. The Lord said, towards the end of this Janma, you will get moksham. He wanted to spend that time usefully. So he went to Uttarakhand by the foothills of Naranarayana Parvatam. He had an ashramam and he started meditating on the Lord. The Lord asked, what do you want, Markandeya? Sir, before the Jivatma leaves, I want to see how pralayam occurs. See, we can spend our time with all the other commitments, whatever little time we get in learning shlokas, understanding more, but we will all have all high intellectual. How did the world creation happen? How will the pralayam happen? You will see when it happens. So this Markandeya, instead of meditating, he said, I want to see pralayam. The Lord said, you want to see pralayam, right? Close your eyes. Markandeya closed. Open. When he opened, those two huge hills of Himalayas, Naraparvatam and Narayana Parvatam, Badarikashramam, which is Badrinath, the boulders started hitting each other. There was collision. The stones started rolling. There was landslides. The river Alakananda Bhagirathi swelled up. There was absolutely no demarcation between what was land and water. There was absolutely an ocean of deluge. Colossal damage. Everything was floating. Even the TV and the refrigerator gifted in the last election was floating. Everything was floating. Now, Markandeya managed to swim. He started swimming. Like Michael Phelps or that Vedant Madhavan, he started swimming. And as he swam, at some distance, he saw some movement. He went closer and he saw it was a beautiful Vatadalam, a leaf, on which was some boy with the hue of the black and the blue in him. He was a bit confused. Who could leave, orphan the child this way and go in this deluge? He asked, is there anybody around? Who are you? This is a little baby. Will that answer? But what the baby did was, it took the toe of its foot and started sucking it. It started sucking that toe. How did you know? Do you know? People will ask, do you know? Did you see the boy sucking the toe? I didn't see. Gokul Santal saw. Kararavindena padaravindam mukharavinde viniveshayantam vatasya patrasya puteshayanam balam mukundam manasa smarami balam mukundam manasa smarami. The boy started sucking. Why did he suck? This question is posed by Narayana Tirtha. Around the 15th, 16th, 17th centuries lived this great poet composer. He was a bhakta of the Lord. He gave a beautiful tarangam called Krishna Leela Tarangini. There he asks, why did the Lord suck his own toe? It is not very hygienic. Why did he do? Because every devotee who positions himself or herself in the presence of the Lord keeps telling, oh Lord, you're so beautiful, your feet are as tasty as the sweet. Some say it is like the shondesh and the channa poish. Some say it is like the gude roshagulla. Some say it is like kakinada kaja and bandar laddu. Some say it is like the Mysore pak. Some say it is like adirasam. Some say it is like ambalapura payasam. Some say it is like puran poli. Some say it is like peta. The Lord himself was confused. How many sweets will I have on my toe? Let me suck and see. He sucked, it seems. Narayana Tirtha says he wanted to check if tasted so sweet. Then later when Markandeya did not realize this Upakhyanam, part of it in Bhagavatam and other part is in the Vanaparva of Mahabharatam, where the Lord showcased Mahalakshmi on his chest. That is when Markandeya understood, hey, this is Vishnu. By the time he realized the boy, he did this like a vacuum cleaner. Markandeya went into the boy's mouth. See, you have to imagine like Inception, Curious Case of Benjamin Button, all like that you have to imagine. He went in. Now he slides in the esophagus of this little boy. As he slides, he is going to the stomach. So what he should find? The bile coming from the liver, the insulin from the islets of the Langerhans, some intestines below, and a gallbladder with no stones. He should find all of this. But what did he find? He found none of it which is visible to us and told to us in the digestive system. What he found were those two hills called Naranarayana Parvatam, a beautiful river called as Alakananda flowing, an ashramam outside it, and outside the ashramam Markandeya was meditating, and Markandeya was seeing himself meditating. Why was the Lord trying to showcase this? He says, you are assuming that I have created them and my creation is different from me and outside of me. What creation I have done is within me because I am the creation. See, this is a huge difference between the Oriental and the Occidental civilization. The Eastern civilization, which here we can assume for a minute it's the Bharatiya civilization, and the Western civilization. The Western civilization assumes there is a creator, there is a creation. The creation needs to venerate the creator only. So the creator and the creation are mutually exclusive. They are different. So the creation, which is we, have to venerate the creator. Whereas Sanatana Dharma doesn't stop here. It says there is a creator and there is a creation. The creation is a part of the creator, and the creator is in the creation. You have to get this. That is why a tree, technically they say a tree is a creation of the creator. But for us, the tree is also to be worshipped, because the creator is in the creation. Now they may say, why are you worshipping a stone? It is after all a stone, right? How do you worship? Because we see the creator in the creation. We see the creator, the Nayaka, in the stone. Stone in Tamil is called Kal. We see the Nayaka in the Kal. If you see the Nayaka in the Kal, that Kal won't be visible to you as Kal. It is Nayaka. But if you see as Kal, you can't see the Nayaka. Kallai kandal Nayakanai kanom. Nayakanai kandal kallai kano. But we have the habit of removing that ka, so Nayaka became Nai. Kallai kandal Nayakanam, Nayakanda kallai kano. இந்த மாதிரி ரொம்ப. So Markandeya was told, Shri Vasudeva Andakotla Kukshi Undi. You had the entire creation within you. All the creation within you. All the creation was in the leaf. Because the boy was resting on the leaf. All in the leaf. Yelai. All in Yelayai. We generally say all in Yelayai. All in Yelai. All in Yelayai. So everything was within the Yelai. So the Lord was trying to say that you don't keep asking how the destruction will happen. What is beyond your realm of understanding, leave it. See, here I don't know, even in India we have stopped those plastic covers, you know, those less expensive plastic covers, black color, you'll have to tie them. Some people will tie it in such a way, 3 knots they will put. You can never tear it open. Then you have to do one Nrsimha Avataram and take it out. There used to be a variety of the sparrows called Kukkanang Kuruvi. Small birds. You know, if people are of very little intellect, they will say Kuruvi Mulai. Small variety of sparrows. And they would construct nests, small nests. If you take that nest as a case study and try to separate the raw materials out of it, you will never be able to do. So one Acharya told a student, when you are not even able to bring the nest of a little Kukkanankuruvi, that nest which is the creation of the sparrow, the Kukkanankuruvi, to its original shape, you are now thinking to break this beautiful nest of the universe of Parabrahman and understand the secrets of it. Kukkanankuruvi kattina kuttin rahasyam arindayanil Parabrahma kuttin rahasyathai nee ariyalamo, says the Acharya. So, Vatapatra Shayi, this form of the Lord tells us understanding is important, but there are certain things of the Creator which is beyond our understanding. That said, again we have to go to Krishna Avataram. Natarabhi, how do we welcome the Lord? Here is one beautiful passage. I'm sure many of your children, many of you will be followers and fans of Shastriya Sangeetam. How many of you are learning music? I won't ask anything more than that. I know in India it is not winning, but still you can raise your hand. So, how do we welcome the Lord? Through a list of ragas. Natara Bhibupala Bilahari Maya Malavagaula Asaveri Saveri Shuddha Saveri Devagandhari Dhanyasi Begada Hindustani Kapi Todi Natakuranji Sri Raga Sahana Athana Sarangi Darbaru Pantuvarali Varali Kalyani Bhuri Kalyani Yamuna Kalyani Husheni Jhanjhoti Kaumari Kannada Kharahara Priya Kalahamsanadana Kriya Mukari Todi Punna Gavarali Kambodi Bhairavi Yadukula Kambodi Ananda Bhairavi Shankara Bharana Mohana Re Gupti Saurashtri Neelambari Gunakriya Meghagarjani Hamsadhvani Shokavarali Madhyamavati Janjuruti Suruti Dvijavanti Malayambari Kapi Parashudana Sari Deshika Todi Ahiri Vasanta Gauli Santu Kedara Gaula Kanakangi Ratnangi Ganamurti Vanaspati Vachaspati Danavati Manarupi Senapati Hanumattodi Dhenuka Nataka Priya Kokila Priya Rupavati Gayaka Priya Vakula Bharana Chakravaka Suryakanta Hatakambari Jhankara Dhvani Natabhairavi Girvani Harikambodhi Dhira Shankara Bharana Naga Nandini Yaga Priya Visrumara Sarasa Ganarasetyadi Santata Santanyamana Nityotsava Pakshotsava Masotsava Samvatsarotsavadi Vividhotsavaha Kritanandaha Srimatananda Nilaya Vasaha Shri Srinivasaha Suprasanno Vijayatam. So these are the ragas, because the only avataram probably in our limited knowledge we know who was a fan of music. See, in Sanatana Dharma, music is allowed, dance is allowed. Dancing is allowed, music is allowed. When can we dance? At least in the marriages that we have in our houses. So at 40, 50 years before, you would have never heard of mehendi, sangeet. Kalyana nadakadho, ipla sangeet nadakam. Appa aada, amma aada. They said, you also dance. If I dance, my belly will dance separately. Avar aada, avar vayar aada. So, dancing is allowed. See, Sanatana Dharma is a very liberal civilization. We are not able to market well. You want to sing, you can reach Paramatma through singing. It is called Nada Upasana, Nadopasana. Properly, if you touch that Swaram's Jivanadi, it is said you will reach the Lord. Nadaloludai Brahmananda Nadatanumanisham. Nadam, that it is exactly, Nadam is not sound. You know, we always translate Nadam is sound. Nadam is not sound, it is something beyond sound. So, music is one of the ways for the Jivatma to reach Paramatma. There is absolutely no doubt. So, when Krishna started attending music classes, somebody was teaching in Gokulam. He learned that Sarali Varisai, Janta Varisai, Melsthai Varisai, Tattu Varisai, Alankaram, and then Lambodara Lakumikara came. the teacher understood Krishna, it is better you take up to some instrument. Koral koncham pishirradhu. So Krishna then wanted to understand which Vadhyam, because all Vadhyams are beautiful, but you should be able to carry them everywhere. If they check in that Vadhyam, Ghatam means it should not come as pieces. So the easiest Vadhyam was flute. So he took up to the flute. So this Raga Manjari that we have celebrated is towards his appreciation of music. Now comes the Shlokam. Vedanta Deshika celebrates in his beautiful work called Yadavabhyudayam. He says, Vande Vrindavanacharam. He doesn't invoke Krishna at all by using his name. He says, I now celebrate and venerate the one who walked by the forest filled with thorns. See, understand, Vrinda. Vrinda means a type of thorn. It will be flat. It will look like a small chapati. Over that, there will be a little pricking portion. It will be protruding. It is called Nerinji Mul. Nerinji Mul, that type, that variety of thorn in Sanskritam is called Vrinda. So Vrindavanam was originally a place infested with thorns. I told this somewhere. Immediately some people, they were following Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradayam. They immediately came and said, we all love Krishna. Very good. They said, no sir, that is Tulasi. It is not thorn. That is because for Gaudiya Vaishnava Sampradayam, they were centered around the current Bengal, Odisha and Bangladesh. So the central language was Bengali. In Bengali, the letter Va doesn't exist. Va will always be replaced with Ba. So Vrindavanam became Brindaban. If you go to Braj Bhasha, they won't even say Ban. They'll say Ban. Banke Bihari. So it is Vanake Vihari. The one who stays in a Vanam becomes Banke Bihari. So Brindavanam. Brinda means Tulasi. The original word is Vrindavanam. Because the language doesn't have Va, you made it Brindavanam. So much so that in Mysore also we say Brindavan Gardens. Vrinda. Then why did they choose that place? Because when you go to a new locality, real estate, it will not be that developed. You have to make it a good area. So Leela Shuka says, as these boys went around letting the cows graze, slowly with movement, people movement, thorns became grass. You know, even the path which was less travelled by, says that poet, right? Robert Frost, two roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both. And be one traveller, long I stood and looked down one as far as I could to where it bent in the undergrowth, then took the one as just as fair and having perhaps the better claim. So he talks about how the thorn became the grass. Mandam mandam madhura ninadair venuma purayantam vrindam vrindavanubhuvigavam charayantam charantam chando bhage shatamakam makadvamsina danavanam hantaram tam kathayarasane gopakanya bhujangam. As they all walked, the sharpness which was an attribute of the thorns turned into the softness of the grass. So much so that one of the medieval poets called Uthukadu Kavi says, I shouldn't have a rebirth. If at all, if I choose to have another birth, let me be the grass in Vrindavanam. Pullai piravi taravendum kanna punidamana palakodi piravi tandalum Vrindavanamidiloru pullai. So Vedanta Deshika says, Vande Vrindavanacharam, the one who trod on the land infested with Vrinda. Vande Vrindavanacharam, first attribute. Vallavi Jana Vallabham, the one who is the beloved of the ladies who lived there. Vallavi Jana Vallabham. The one who was born on Jayanti. Jayanti Sambhavandhama. When I grew up, I knew only one Jayanti, Gandhi Jayanti. October 2nd, we will get holiday. And sadly, many of the years, it will invariably fall on a Sunday. Talladth. And then now we have Ambedkar Jayanti, Tipu Jayanti, Ghazini Jayanti, Aurangzeb Jayanti. Everybody we have one Jayanti. But now we have to understand the word Jayanti. Who is Jayanti? Ingatla Vadam Manitara Mami. But who is Jayanti? In Jyotishya Shastram, in the Avani month, in the waning phase called as Krishna Paksham, on the 8th Tithi called as Ashtami, if that day, if that month, if that Paksham is ruled by the asterism, the constellation called Rohini, then that Muhurtam, the time period when all of them come together in Jyotishya Shastram is called Jayanti. It is not any day. It should not be any other month. It should be the Avani month. It should not be Shukla Paksham. It should be Krishna Paksham. It can neither be Navami nor Saptami. It has to be Ashtami. It cannot be Anuradha or Revati. It should be Rohini. When all four come together, then that unique time, which is a concoction of all these attributes put together, is referred to as Jayanti. So technically, we cannot use the word Jayanti for Gandhi, Ambedkar, Tippu, Ghazini and all of them. But who listens? See, nobody wants to know the truth. So if I say this, then they will say, you're against Gandhi. Seri vechuko Gandhi Jayanti. Right? Jayanti, see, we have completely lost patience to even debate. See, there in those days, if you have to even come to the stage and speak in the public, I'm talking about the Bharatiya civilization, you should have finished your Tarka Shastra Jnanam. You should have completed that Tarka Shastra Jnanam. There is Nyayadhyumani, many works. Tarka Sangraham. Tarka Sangraham is very basic. Then you go on after one work of Nyaya after the other. You read the commentaries. You will know how to listen to the other person. First, listening is the first attribute for Tarkam. You have to listen to what that person says. So when the person says, he says 4 lines. I'm just giving you an example. So he is saying something. You have to listen first. You have to keep your ear. Now, I don't have to say keep your ears open. Our manufacturing defect is it is open. Even then we are not listening. Imagine we had one lid to the ear. It will be permanently closed. So it is completely open. Listen to the other person. If you are debating, let's say you have come to a platform. How do you debate? First you have to listen and you have to gauge if that person sitting opposite you is intelligent or not. First you should have that attribute in you to gauge his intellect. Then after that you have to be careful. You should not give extra information. You should take input from that person and then hit that person back with the same information you have given. That is why the word comes, Kandru Kunila Verindai Kadal Potri. Krishna did not kill the Vatsasura and Kapithasura with 2 weapons. He used one Asura to hit the other. See, the fire, Pushpa. What he does is, there are 2 people. See, I see Tarka Shastram in all this. When 2 people try to come in, Allu Arjun, what that Allu does is, when 2 people are coming to hit him, he picks up one person, rotates him and hits the other. Kandru Kunila Veridal. So somebody has listened, director has listened to Tirupavai Upanyasam. This style of debating where you don't add any points is called Vitandam. Where you present your points and then wait for the other person to come back with a retort is called Vadham. Where you do both is called Jalpam. So these are all the 3 styles you learn in Tarka Shastram. So you will know how to debate. Just like that, reading 4 lines in Wikipedia and coming to debate, waste of time. Waste of time. So Tarkika, that is why Vedanta Deshika was a philosopher and a logician par excellence. Kavitarkika Kesari. You could pechondrukku Shatadushaniyai Peshiya Deshikanal. That is intelligence. When you learn Shastram, you may ask, how many dollars will I earn? That I won't know. But you will surely become a very smart individual. Okay, I'll give you an example and then go to the topic. I'll give you Hanuman. Let's take Hanuman. We all say, I'm sure your city also has a beautiful temple for Hanuman. We all celebrate Sukshma Roop, that everybody will get energy, and they'll say, Jai Hanuman. Fine. And we say Hanuman was Navavyakarana Pandita, intelligent. But how was he intelligent? See, in Ramayana, if you see, very rarely you see some blatant episodes where his intelligence is personified. Mostly his body power only they show. He lifted the mountain, he lifted Lakshmana, he flew to Lanka. I'll give you one simple instance, two instances where Hanuman uses his intellect and Tarka Shastram ability. Hanuman is not a Sajatiya Swami. See, Rama was of the human category, Homo sapien. Hanuman was of, we don't know whether he belonged to a monkey category or there were some species which were very close to monkeys but not the true monkeys that we see today. Whatever, he did not belong to the Nara category. Hanuman is being sent, dispatched by Sugriva to check who these two gym-bodied men were. Hanuman goes. He meets Rama for the first time. He sees Rama for the first time. And then Lakshmana standing beside him. Generally, what will we ask? See, in those days, trains, if we are sitting opposite each other, you won't know, you want to divert the attention, you will turn this side, that side. Now, Hanuman looks at Rama. What he should have asked, sir, who are you? You have come into our region. So, these were the questions he had to ask. First, he introduces himself. That is the quality of a great speaker. First, you have to introduce. Avar modala sollatum. No. Which means you don't have a proper intro. He gives a good introduction. Sugriva Sachivo Nama Hanuman Nama Vanaraha. I am a Vanara by name Hanuman in one sentence. If you don't know sentence construction, you'll say, I am Hanuman, I am a Vanara, I am a chief secretary, I am of Sugriva. You won't know how to combine sentences. Sugriva Sachivo Nama Hanuman Nama Vanaraha. He knew how to do a précis. Then he submits. And Rama listens. That time Hanuman says, Ayatascha suvrittascha bahavaha parighopamaha sarvabhushana bhusharhaha kimartham na vibhushitaha. You're not having any ornaments. Oh man. He looks at Rama and says, you're not having any ornaments, but trust me, being bereft of ornaments is your ornament. Because if ornaments were there, I can't see your physical beauty. Because you're bereft of ornaments, I can see your beauty. So no ornament is your ornament. He listens. Then what he should have asked? He should have asked, Mami varliye. Enga irka Mami? Oh, kadathin poitala. Yaar poita? So if somebody is in distress, if you can't offer solution, you have to keep mum. We are never solution givers. But the way we will ask is as if we are going to give solution. Hanuman did not ask. You check if he has asked in Kishkinda Kandam, he wouldn't have asked. But how did he know that Rama was married and his wife was kidnapped? Because only a person who has completed Vedadhyayanam and the Samavartanam ritual is over is allowed to sport a Panchakacham. So he knew that Vedadhyayanam was over. He was married too. So his Panchakacham was there. And the 3 threads of Janeyu will become 6 when you are married. Correct? So he knew Rama's marital status. He is married. But the other option was he could be married and yet be a widower. Correct? Dress will not change for a widower. How did he know that he was married and his wife was living and Rama was not a widower? Because Rama was carrying a stick in his hand with fire. Rama was a Nitya Agnihotri. You can perform Agnihotram only if you are married. And if your wife is living. If the wife is dead, the widower can't perform Agnihotram. Now don't ask me why, that was the rule. If you want to change, go change. But in those days, the rule was a widower can't perform. Now you may say this is discrimination. There is an oppressed community, victim community. Don't get into that debate. In those days, it was not allowed. So Rama was carrying the Agnihotram, fire, because wherever he had to go, he had to construct the Vedika and do Agnihotram. For that, you have to carry that fire. And the Olympics, so he has to carry that fire. So he is not a widower. He is doing Agnihotram. His Janeyu and the Kacham is telling he's married, not a widower. Then where is his wife? Looking at Rama's countenance, which is saddened, melancholic in nature, he understands that this forest which is infested with Rakshasas, one of them must have abducted her. So that is why he doesn't ask even a single question to Rama. He understands he's married, he's not a widower, and his wife has been abducted. That is where he leaves it. This is called intelligence. You see the other person, see what to derive. Then he goes to Sita, meets Sita there. First, there is a small mistake Hanuman commits. He assumes Ravana Patni Mandodari to be Sita. Aspotayamasu Chuchumba Pucham. Mistakes happen. But where is the greatness of us? We should learn that we have made mistakes and do course correction. That is where we are arrogant. We argue, right? That is where we are. Hanuman beats us. He knew this is not Rama Patni. I have committed a mistake. He goes place after place. He sees one lady whose eyes are completely swollen because of crying for days together. But any other lady in Lanka could be crying. Not every lady in Lanka will be smiling. But how does he know this is Sita? Because when Sita was kidnapped, she tore a part of her pallu and kept some jewelry and threw at these monkeys. Whatever ornaments were thrown at them, those ornaments were not on her. See, technically you imagine, there is a choker. You know this choker? You cannot put 3-4 chokers. You can put only one choker. Then it will really choke if you put 3-4 chokers. You have to put only one choker. If the choker was thrown at the monkeys, Vanaras, a choker should not be in Sita's neck. Because after coming to Lanka, I can't live without choker, and she could not have gone to Joy Lucas and bought one choker. So technically the choker should not be there. So what he did was, what jewelry were thrown, those jewelry in those parts were not on her. The sari which was torn, the same border was on her sari. Face was looking in the northwesterly direction. Ekastha hridayanunam rameva nupashyati. So he concluded, says Valmiki, tarkayamasa siteti. Tarkayamasa. Through logic, Hanuman conclude this is Sita. See, there are two ways of answering in competitive exams. If the question is asked, you have to calculate and give the answer. The other easier way is to say, this cannot be the answer, this cannot be the answer, this cannot be the answer, so this will be the answer. It is called answer by rejection method. So if she had these qualities, nobody else had, so she must be Sita. This is called Tarka, which we don't have, which we lack today. That is why Jayanti Sambhavan Dhama Vaijayanti Vibhushanam. The one who adorns himself with the mala called Vaijayanti. That Krishna, the Lord who was there in Vaikuntham, Purusham Purusha Suktena, that is when Bhuma Devi went. She goes in the form of a cow and she pleads to the Lord, people are drilling on me with fracking technology. Fracking technology. In Chennai, they are drilling for 500 feet. If they drill further, I can't give water, I'll give only oil. That much they are drilling on me. I've got migraine and they want me to stay patient. If I shake my head, Turkey people don't like me. What do I do? Gaur bhutva ashrumukhi khinna krandanti karunam vibho upasthitantike tasmai vyasanam swamavochyata. That is when the Lord, it is said in Bhagavatham and Vishnu Puranam, the Lord said, don't worry, I will bring glory to you, I will restore dharma, dharma samsthapanarthaya. He threw two kesham, Sita Krishna, one was white, one was black. It is there. If you go to books, translations, they'll say, he threw a black and a white hair strand. That's all over. Translator's job is over. But here comes the problem. Will the Lord have white hair? He doesn't use Godrej. I don't know what you get here. L'Oreal also he doesn't use. So the word Krish, Kesha is interpreted by Vishnu Chitta in his commentary Vishnu Chittiyam as the ray of light. It is not hair. Which means that is grace. You all generally say, right? Grace came means light came on you. absence of light, absence of knowledge is nascence, ajnanam, dark. Presence of light is white light. That is why when we describe a prism also, we say white light went through this and you had the spectrum called Vibgyor. White is white strand of light, which means presence of light, which he says that I shall be born to dispel the darkness. It's very symbolic in nature. So eventually, I spoke about Devaki and Vasudeva getting married. They were being ferried. They were being taken on a chariot. That is when the ethereal voice said the 8th Garbham will be the Marana Karanam. He imprisoned them. Now, why did Vasudeva go and bring the girl child? Now there is a vacuum here. What it says is, the Lord tells through Yogamaya. Yogamaya says, I shall be born there. Vasudeva, you have to exchange the babies. That is when the Lord said, since this Yogamaya Shakti, Vaishnavi Shakti will aid in my protection, from now on I bless that this Yogamaya will be worshipped in every village as a Devi. Gaccha Devi Vrajam Bhadre Gopagobhiralankritam Rohini Vasudevasya Bharyaste Nanda Gokule Anyasya Kamsa Samvighna Vivareshu Vasantihi Devakya Jathare Garbham Sheshakhyam Damamamakam Tatsannikrishya Rohinya Udare Sanniveshaya. So the potency of the 7th Garbham was transferred to the Garbham of Rohini. So Rohini eventually delivered a son who was very handsome to look at. Ramayatiti Ramaha. He looked very strong like his cousin Bhima. So he was called Balarama. And then Yashoda around the same time was pregnant. So she had to deliver. This is where comes Bhagavatam. When the Lord was born, he was born in the last few minutes of the Ashtami Tithi. In a few more minutes, the Ashtami Tithi will get over. The Lord was born on Ashtami Tithi. When the Navami Tithi was born, in the early hours of Navami Tithi, Yashoda delivered a girl child. Since they were born one Tithi after the other, he is treated as the elder brother and she the younger sister. It is an emotional bond, not blood bond. Both O positive. It is an emotional bond. So, even if she was younger to him, the sister protected the brother. She was that fortress of protection for a brother. She put herself in the dangerous spot. Since she was the fortress of protection, a fortress that protects is called Durga. Fortress is called Durga. Since she protected through that love, correct? Lily Potter was the protective. She came between that, what is that, Voldemort's curse. She put herself right. She was the fortress there. Since new form in Sanskritam is called Nava. That is why she is called Nava Durga. New type of fortress. What we will do if you heard the Nava Durga? You will buy 9 bommays for Golu. Our Nava Durga Jollutar, our age Jollutar. Nava Durga Mahakali Brahma Vishnu Shivatmikam. Nava Durga Maha. Now in Prachina Sanskritam, La was not there. Mahakalim. La was imported from many of the regional languages and now it has come into Sanskritam. Kalim, we say. It is Kali. Now, we have to go back to Krishna Avataram. See, let's keep this aside. In Krishna Avataram, the shlokam went, I read about that Avatara Paddhati, right? Tamadbhutam. See, in that inside that jail, dark it was. Not even a ray of light could creep into that jail premises. Tam adbhutam. Extraordinary. Balakam. He saw this boy. Balam in Sanskritam means a little boy. There is no need to specifically say balakam. You should not add too many words. Most prettiest. Prettiest is enough. So balam is enough. Tamadbhutam balakam. Why? The commentator asks and he suggests that the suffix Pratyayam, kaf pratyayam is added to indicate if the intended child is smaller and little than what was he imagined to be. If he was imagined to be 2 pounds, he will be 1 pound smaller. So, balakam alparthe kaf pratyayaha. The other rule which Acharya state, ka with those 2 dots, kaha in Sanskritam means Brahma. So if you say kaha, then Brahma will come. Ullenayya. Kaha means Brahma. So when the Lord was born, Devaki said, Vasudevji, dekhiye, udhar to dekhiye to sahi, wo kya hai? So they saw that little boy, in his little navel there was a little lotus. Seated on that little lotus was like a bumblebee like Brahma with his heads up. So Vasudeva said, hey, along with that boy there is another boy born. Oh, Balaha kaha yasyasa balakaha. The boy who gave rise to Brahma. So when the Lord was born, Brahma was born. So the only lady who became a grandmother while she became a mother was Devaki. Tamadbhutam balakam. Then she looked to the boy's eyes. Ambuje kshanam. Lotus petal like eyes. Chaturbhujam. 4 hands. You have to imagine a small boy with 4 hands. Chaturbhujam. Shankhagadhar. Small chakram is going around. Shankhagadhar. Shankham was slightly bigger than the jeera. Shankhagadhar yudhar yudam. Matchstick like one small gada. Small lotus. And then she zoomed. She took that magnifying glass and saw what is in his chest. Shrivatsa Lakshmam. There was a mole. Shrivatsam. Seated on which there was a lotus, and on that lotus was a small girl. Yarinna idu ponnu? Hey, our mattu ponnu. Mahalakshmi is there. So she became a mother while she became a mother-in-law. Shrivatsa Lakshmam. Next to Mahalakshmi, there was a mirror, Kaustubham, because the Lord wanted to engage her. See, if you keep a mirror, thank God there are no mirrors. See, imagine this room had mirrors everywhere. Nobody would have bothered to see here. So he had to keep engaging Mahalakshmi. So, parents ask, right, sir, vacation, ututa, enna panna porone, therila sir. You have to engage the children. So he had to engage Mahalakshmi. So he kept Kaustubam. Shrivatsa Lakshmam Galashobi Kaustubam. This boy was born fully dressed. Pitambaram. Yellow silk. Sandhrapayoda Saubhagam. Color of the dark cloud. Maharha Vaidurya Kirita Kundala Tvisha Parishvakta Sahastra Kuntalam. Fully adorned he was born. How did she spot where the boy was? There was no light in the room, right? Dvija Chandra Chandrika Maikshata, the whiteness that emanated from the 32 teeth of the boy. Yandana idu? 32 teeth undayidu ippodu janichale. The boy is born now, how can you get that whiteness? Because he is an extraordinary child. Adbhutam balakam. That's why he uses the word adbhutam. If you are an extraordinary child, you should have something extra. 32 teeth, 4 hands, all fully adorned. Shrivatsa Lakshmam Galashobi Kaustubam Pitambaram Sandrapayoda Saubagam Maharha Vaidurya Kirita Kundala Tvisha Parishvakta Sahasa Kuntala Muddama Kanchi Gadakanganadibir Virochamanam Vasudeva Maikshara. Vasudeva was in a fix. Who is this boy? That time Devaki said, Upasamharate Brahman. My dear boy, my brother is just waiting for an opportunity to annihilate my 8th child. I have lost 6. 7th was a miscarriage. Please keep those 2 hands behind, those extra hands behind till my brother is alive. Throw those 32 teeth away. Immediately the boy took every tooth and threw them away. 2 hands he hid. You know, in debates they ask, Ram ji ne पितृवाक्य परिपालन किया. जब पिताजी बोले बन जाओ राम, तो वे बन गए. ये तो राम जी का एक महत्वपूर्ण गुण है. 24 years he listened to his father. This little boy listened to his mother, born immediately. Which is greater? Matrivakya paripalanam. Listening to the mother. Matridevo bhava or Pitridevo bhava? 24 years or newly born? आप राम जी का अपमान कर रहे हैं. बुरा मत समझिए, मुझे रामायण के लिए बुलाइए, तब मैं देखूंगा कि कृष्ण का क्या होता है. Dallas audience is the best. What I would have told in San Jose? Durgeti. So, no, really you're good. Kochundra para pala per. Sandra Payoda Saubhagam Maharha Vaidurya Kirita Kundala Tvisha Parishwakta Sahastra Kuntalam. The boy put his hands, 2 extra hands back. He hid. This is where there's a sukshmam here. The mother said, my brother is there, don't show all these extra things, hide those 2 hands. My brother is there, which means till the brother is there, he has to hide those hands. What is the corollary? Once the brother is no more, he can have those 2 hands. That is why after Kamsa Vadham, Krishna has 4 hands again. When I told this again, somebody will get, Aisa Nitish Bharadwaj nahi dikhaye gaye the. Nitish Bharadwaj had only 2, N.T. Ramarao Garu had only 2. What can I do if the director has not listened to my discourses? Because after Kamsavadham, Krishna had 4 hands, completely, permanently. In Bhagavad Gita, you go and check, 11th Adhyayam, you all do Avadhanam of Bhagavad Gita, right, in big stadium. Read, go check. In the 11th chapter, when he shows Vishwarupam to Arjuna, Arjuna is all flabbergasted. He says, I can't take this form anymore. It's too overwhelming, Krishna. You are my cousin, you are my friend. I wish to see you that way. Please come back as the original, normal Krishna. Svenaiva Rupena. 4 hands he comes. See, if he says, come back in your original form in 4 hands, Ramanujacharya comments. That is Ramanujacharya's Gambhiryam. Vedanta Deshika says in Tatparya Chandrika, if one has to comment, they have to learn to comment like Ramanuja. He says, Kamsavadha Paryantam, he had 4 hands. That is why later Poundraka Vasudeva, one person wants to mimic Krishna, he goes to one workshop and makes 2 extra hands and fits one motor to the chakram and come. You know that? So he had 4 hands. Now, how to keep this child? See the sadness of Devaki. She couldn't even feed her child. You know, if you check up with a medical practitioner, what is that first milk? Colostrum, the mother has to give. It is rich in antibodies. It has to go to the child. She couldn't even feed the child because the brother will come running. That is when she says the best way is to take the child out. How did she take? There was food being given to them in jail food. So she took all the food out of the casket. She kept the boy in that casket and sent. You know Shivaji? Chhatrapati. His mother, Shivaji ne ellar Ganesha. Yemma. Chhatrapati Shivaji's mother used to listen to Bhagavata Saptaham. That is why this boy got the idea when he was arrested by Aurangzeb to sit in a fruit basket and get out. So this boy was kept in the basket and Devaki with tears rolling down her cheeks. Just imagine with so much of, it was a Herculean task, so much of ordeal for 8 to 9 years in jail, losing so many children. She did not get the bhagyam to experience even one pastime of Krishna. How did Devaki feel? While she was inside the jail, she used to keep listening, right? Every now and then those soldiers will be talking. There is one boy in the close by village who lifted the mountain, who danced on snake. That time she used to reminiscence how Yashoda used to be the recipient of that love and grace. Kulashekara Alvar sings it. It seems Yashoda used to make some nice curd rice. She used to say, Krishna, open your mouth. He swallowed the entire world. Ulagamunda Peruvaya. Now he opens very small. She used to put that curd rice into his mouth. And with that little curd rice, he used to throw half out. What used to go in, half of it used to come out. She used to take that remaining half, the residue, and used to put it back into her mouth. Devaki repents. I carried you for so long. What was the residue from your mouth that Yashoda is tasting while I am not. Nee unda adishilin michal Yashodai nangai petru ponale. So this Devaki hands over the child to Vasudeva. Vasudeva was tied with the fetters, the iron fetters. The moment the child was given, he was unfettered. Charamatas charunadiva devaki patiramuchyata shrunkalatas thirat nikila bandha nivartaka sannidho vilagnam nigalasya kimadbhutam. The poet asks, what is surprising when the child was given to Vasudeva, the fetters came out, they were unfettered. He is born to release us from the shackles of karma. Will it take lot of effort for him to take the shackles made of iron, ferrum? So this boy was given. It was a unique night. See, all these VFX happened that night. Door opened, automatic door. All soldiers were snoring. As Vasudeva went outside, it was pouring cats and dogs, incessant rain. The Yamuna waters were rising. He did not know what to do. If he keeps the child will be drenched in those waters and will die soon. But he said, this is what I've been commanded to do. He takes the child, he goes out, not one drop falls on him. He checks why. Adisesha, the umbrella is at the top. He didn't even react. Imagine one big cobra above you. He is just quiet. He says, let me follow, I won't even look up. He goes. All the waters, precipitation from the clouds should have fallen on the hoods of Adisesha, but none fell on Adisesha. Adisesha wondered. The head started talking to each other. Ye kya hai yaar? They looked up. Garuda was flying. Shrutimayo iti pannagaha. He is the umbrella to Adisesha, who is the umbrella to Krishna, who is the umbrella to Vasudeva. Vasudeva who sits on Bhumi. So this is called Bhagavatham sandwich. Low calorie, even people on keto can have it. So as he reaches the banks of river Yamuna, Kalindi, Kantihari, Kalayatu, Vapushaha, Kalima, Kaitabharehe, he reaches. Yamuna waters were swelling. As Vasudeva gets in, the waters rise. Above his waist level, they come till the neck, and he's carrying the little boy. The waves lashed against the tender feet of the little boy because Yamuna wanted association with the Lord's feet. The moment those waters touched and she was satiated of the spiritual quest for the association of the lotus feet of the Lord, against something which physics doesn't agree. Yamuna waters parted. See, in Ramayanam, you check this out. Whoever wants to fact check me. In Yuddha Kandam, after Hanuman has caused big damage to Lanka, there was a huge round table conference. Kumbhakarna was called, Indrajit was called. Ravana said, this monkey, this Vanara came in the middle of the night and has caused $6 billion loss to Lanka. We may have to go to IMF. Even then Lanka went to IMF. We are in a very bad state now. What should we do now? What should we do? Kumbhakarna, very wise brother, he said, what should I do? What should we do? This question you're asking, right? You should have asked this question before kidnapping Sita. You took your unilateral decision, you kidnapped her, now you're asking, you're not even giving her back. Go give her to Rama, everything will be fine. That I will never do, even the wildest of my dreams. Then Kumbhakarna said, let Rama come. We will get defeated in the hands of Rama. Remember, Ravana, you can never win over Rama. Kumbhakarna says, very good brother. He says, you can never win over Rama. Like how the waters that have flown from the Kalinda Parvatam called Kalindi or Yamuna will never go back to the mountain. He uses this line. Unaware of the fact that in Krishna Avataram even this will happen, the waters retracted and went back to the source. So the waters started going. Vasudeva went from Mathura to Gokulam. ஒருத்தி மகனாய் பிறந்து ஓரிரவில் ஒருத்தி மகனாய் ஒளிர்ந்து வளர தரிகில நாகித்தான் தீங்கு நினைந்த கருத்தை பிழைப்பித்து கஞ்சன் வயிற்றினில் நெருப்பென நின்ற நெடுமாலே ஒருத்தி மகனாய். We are all born to one lady. Andal says, ஒருத்தி மகனாய் is just something great. You are born to one lady. Yes, everybody is born to one lady. See, in any language, the word one can be used as a number. How many samosas did you eat? One. That is number one. You keep talking about one person with some good or bad habits we don't know. And that person comes. You're talking to another person about him, and that person comes. I told you, right? He is the one. That one is not the number one. It means the unique one. You do all those tests, Keshadipadam medical tests. That report is given, you take to the doctor, lipid profile. Like Shukla Yajurvedam and Krishna Yajurvedam, cholesterol is also two types. Good cholesterol, bad cholesterol. Then HbA1c, neutrophils, eosinophils, basophils. Then urine culture, urine test, all this one big file we are taking to the doctor. Those minutes will be very tense for you because the doctor, then he will round something. See, 1 in a lakh people have this problem. You are that one. நானாயிரத்தில் ஒருவன். Despite many women who lived during the times of Dwaparam, Devaki was the chosen one to birth the Lord. She was the unique one. ஒருத்தி மகனாய் பிறந்து. Many women lived in Gokulam. It was Yashoda who became the mother while to enjoy his pastimes. ஒருத்தி மகனாய் ஒளிர்த்து. In Tamil grammar, there is a problem here. You cannot say oruthi, one. You have to say one and the other one. Generally, when you have two children and you introduce to someone, he will say, I was talking right, he is the one. Oh, the other one, yeah, he's the other one. The other, one and the other. Oruthi maganai pirandu, mattoruthi maganai olirthu. Mattoruthi should have come. But Andal, great poetess, she doesn't use the word matru. Why? The commentator says, Krishna, after being born, he didn't stay for 2 weeks with Devaki. If he had stayed for 2 weeks with Devaki, ஒருத்தி மகனாய் பிறந்து, ஒருத்தி மகனாய் பிறந்து, ஒருத்தி மகனாய் பிறந்து, ஒருத்தி மகனாய் பிறந்து. Many of them will tie mangalyam to the mic. ஒருத்தி மகனாய் பிறந்து. 2 weeks if he had stayed. He didn't stay. ஒருத்தி மகனாய் வளர்ந்து. Before she could tell the word matru, Krishna came here, it seems. That is why Andal did not use the word matru. He came here. Now he enters a new place. Gokulam. Gokulam is full of narrow gullies. See, if you don't have a guide, you will get lost in Gokulam and Vrindavanam. Middle of the night, no light, pouring waters, the boy he is carrying, he doesn't know the way. Who guided Vasudeva? My hero Deshika says, towards the end of every street in Gokulam, there used to be the village deity. I don't know if you have heard of this. In the south of India, there are village deities. He's called Karupannasamy, Ayyanar, Shasta. He will have one sword, big mustache. He'll be looking like this. So there will be many, many idols erected for the village deities towards the end of every street. Vedanta Deshika says that was a unique night. Doors opened, fetters unfettered, river gave way. Even the idols which were having those swords, they bent their swords like this, it seems. That became the arrows. So with those marks, he went to Nandagopal's house. She had just then delivered the little girl. She was very tired, she was sleeping. Command to swap the babies. So he kept this boy child there, took the girl child there, came back the same way, the automatic doors closed. This girl child started crying. Divya samgambharate paratna bharana bhushita ಧನುಶೂಲೇಶು ಚರ್ಮಾಸಿ ಶಂಖಚಕ್ರ ಗದಾಧರ ಅಹಮಶೇಷ ಸುರ ಸುರಮೋಹಿನಿ ಯವನಿಕ ಮಧುಕೈಟಪಮರ್ದಿನಃ ಪ್ರಬಲ ಶುಂಭ ನಿಶುಂಭ ನಿಷೂದನೆ ಪ್ರಣಿಹಿತ ಹತಯಾ ತವ ಕಿಮ್ಮಯ. That time came Kamsa, girl child. He just took her with force. How did he take? Bhattadri says in Narayaniyam, like how effortlessly an elephant will pull a lotus flower out of the pond. He pulled this girl child from the arms and the hands of the mother Devaki. But how did this girl jump into the sky as Durga? Like how a bhakta of Vishnu escapes the Yamapasha, says Bhattadri. She went Amba Shambhavi Chandra Mauli Rabala Aparna Uma Parvati Kali Haimavati Shivadrinayani Katyayani Bhairavi. Durga came and said, the one who is born to kill you is already born. He is well safe. All the best. She left. So since she protected in Krishna Avataram, Acharyas refer to her as the sister to the Lord through that love. Any composition, this word will come. Sarasi Janabha Sodari Shankari Pahimam Varaguru Janani Madashamani Mahishasuramardini Mandagamani Mangalavara Pradayini Bimbadari Chit Pratibimbadari Bindunadava Shankari Shankari Ambujaramana Sodari Athirati Ambari Kadambari Nilambari Amba Nilayajakshi Padmanabha Sahodari Unmesha Nimishotpanna Vipanna Bhuvanavali. Sister. Now she went. From that night onwards, Kamsa couldn't sleep. Earlier he couldn't sleep not knowing when the boy will be born. Now he didn't sleep not knowing where that boy is. He didn't sleep. So, on the other hand, next day morning, Yashoda wakes up. After the delivery tiredness, she wakes up, she sees next to her. He looked absolutely adorable. She checked, ye to ladka hai. Because Kamala Selvaraj had told, it will be a girl. So she had bought all dress in pink. All jewelry for the girl. And that 15-day return period was also. See, in my house, we have a practice. If we buy new clothes, we will put little Haridra Kunkuma and then we will wear. My party used to say, Enga vangina Amazon, adala pottukade. Don't put that Haridra Kunkuma, because for new clothes you will put. Somebody would have bought, they would have worn for 4 days, they will give it back. It is already Udharanam ho gaya to aap. So here, she said, I can't return those jewelry, what will I do? That was her first. See, she didn't even adore that boy. Now her worry was what to do with that dress and jewelry. See, there is a saying in Sanskritam. Nari Shulalita Devi. Amongst women, Lalita Parameshwari is the most prettiest. Sir, can you use most prettiest? In Midsummer's Night Dream, Shakespeare says, when something is beyond description, you can be grammatically wrong. Shakespeare says, go and ask him. She was, Lalita Parameshwari is beautiful. Mriganabha. Lalita Sahasranamam says, her Nabhi is so beautiful. So Lalita is beautiful amongst women. She is that Miss Universe. Amongst men, Purusheshu cha Raghavaha. Amongst men, it is Raghava, Raymond, complete man. Very handsome. Broad shoulders, thin hip. If you look at Rama, you can put tick marks to that Samudrika Lakshana Shastram. It will fit exactly how the face should be, how the nose should be. See, generally for us, all of it, anju mono adukka irukadunu solluva. Yeah. Eppadi irkar paakradhu? Sumara irkar. Or they may say, எப்படி இருக்கா பொண்ணு, மூக்கு மட்டும் நன்னா இருக்கு. அதுதான் மூக்கேவா பார்த்துட்டு இருக்க முடியும், வேற எதையும் பார்க்காம மூக்கு தானே. See, மாப்பிள்ளை எப்படி இருக்கார், தூரக்கேந்து பார்க்கறதுக்கு நன்னா இருக்கார். So, everything is a problem. I don't know if I told you, I grew up with my grandparents. My grandparents were very, very loving, like any other grandparent, I would say. I should not say they were the best or something like that. My grandmother was very pretty. She used to look very pretty. Tata irupar. So I still remember in class 3, I went and asked, very immature question, I repent now. I went and asked my grandmother, eppadi patti nee taathaava poi kalyanam panninga? My grandmother was a very jovial lady. She never used to feel bad. She said, illada, I had 5 more sisters after me. I had not sufficient time to choose, to say this is okay, that is okay, that courtship period. Let's talk, let's chat, and then finally give up. I didn't have that. My father said, "Ido pare, I found an maapla, kanna moodin kalyanam panniko." Then when I saw him, I understood what my father meant. So you have to make compromises in life. See, if you keep waiting for that ideal person to come, both the man and the woman, இப்படி இருக்கணும் அப்படி இருக்கணும்னா பெருமாளை தான் பண்ணிக்கணும். Because as human beings, we will not have everything in us. He will look very good. வாயை திறந்தா போச்சு. எப்படி அதான் நான் பார்க்கறதுக்கு நல்லா இருக்கார். After marriage only they will say, people will come and say, எப்படி ஸ்மார்ட்டாக இருக்கார், இருக்கார். வாயை மட்டும். See, you cannot have that perfection in one person, be it the man or the woman. But today everybody wants to marry only the perfect man. Then we have to go and sit next to Ganesha, eternally waiting across every street where that consort will come. So here, Narishu Lalita Devi, amongst women Lalita, Purusheshu Charagavaha, amongst men Rama. So, amongst the ladies it is Lalita, her beauty. Men, Rama. Let's say this is beauty 1, beauty 2. We are going to give that B1, B2. Both these beauties found convergence in one person, and that was Krishna, it seems. Tayoho sammelanam Krishne sarupam kena varnyate. How can we describe that beauty? Individual beauties coming together in Krishna. That is why Krishna will have all ornaments of a woman. Septum, all that. If you go to Mannargudi Krishna, you will see all of it. Because Yashoda didn't want to waste that jewelry. So this boy was born. Immediately she, Haridra Churnataila Adbihi Sinchantyo Jagaman Jaguhu. She messaged. She had one group. She messaged. अरे सुन लो, जन्म हो गया, आइए तो. So the women started running because they were all wanting to see Yashoda's son. How did they run? How did they see? All this description is not there in Bhagavatham. So Shuka Brahmam wanted to outsource this. He's checked who are the good vendors. He saw one very, very good vendor with good reviews. His name was Vishnu Chitta alias Periyalvar. Address near Madurai, Palkova Street, Srivilliputturu. So he sang. How was the situation? Vannamadangal shoor Tirukotiyur Kannan Keshavanambi Pirandinil Ennai Shunnam Yedir Yedir Yedir, 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 Ennai Shunnam, Yedir, Yedir, Tuvida. 1600 years back, in the deepest part of the south, he says, they showered water, oil and colors on each other. Now we have those instruments, pitchkari. Pottelna tappu. Instead of pitchkari, pitchaka. எண்ணெய் சுண்ணம் எதிரெதிர் தூவிட கண்ணல் மூற்றம் கலந்தளராயிற்றே. Opposite the house of Nandagopal, it was all oil. The women who came, ஓடுவார், they came running. விழுவார், they fell. உகந்தாலிப்பார் நாடுவார் நம்பிரான் எங்குற்றான் என்பார். They couldn't even rise because they have fallen. Where is he? பாடுவார்களும் பல்பறை கொட்ட நின்று ஆடுவார்களும் ஆயிற்றாய் பாடியே. She had to give him bath, Yashoda. So she was wearing gagra. She lifted, she sat, she extended her legs. She applied good mustard oil on that baby, left him under the scorching rays of the sun, and then took the boy between the crevice formed of her extended legs. She then ensured that there was a proper temperature to the waters. It should neither be too hot nor too cold. Then she mixed some gooseberry into it, because if the water goes into the boy's mouth, he should find it very sweet. Alvar says, 1600 years back, kadara neer peidu. And then she extended her legs and she kept Krishna. His body was all greasy and she was giving him bath. Alvar wonders, it seems the Lord was worried if he will slip and fall from that. He held her legs tightly. Alvar says, we have to fall at your legs and you are holding her legs. Then Yashoda, see, post-delivery, some women put on weight, but she lost weight. So the other women asked, ye kaise ho gaya Anjali Mukherjee? Kuch hai? Kidakil tottil kidiya udaitidum. Yashoda says, if I keep him in the cradle, he kicks and comes out. If I keep him on my hip, he slides down. If I keep him on the floor, he moves away. Just by running after him, I have lost weight. 10,000 steps, Fitbit ho gaya. Kidakil tottil கிழிய உதைத்திடும் எடுத்துக்கொள்ளில் மருங்கை இருத்திடும் உடுக்கி புல்கில் உதரத்தே பாய்ந்திடும் இடுக்கிலாமையால் நான் மெலிந்தேன் நங்காய். Since he was after milk and milk products, his tongue used to be white. There used to be a layer of whiteness to his tongue. So how will you clean his tongue? Some lady asked. Alvar says, every day she used to use turmeric to take bath, Yashoda. 20-30 days, if you use the pulpy portion of the turmeric, what remains is the residue, the hard portion. So she would use that as the tongue cleaner to clean his tongue. So here he says, Kayyum kalum நிமிர்ந்த கடார நீர் பைய ஆட்டி பஞ்சிரு மஞ்சளால் turmeric. Ayya, she used to say, put your tongue out. The boy used to put, Ayya na vaditaalukku. She used to clean his tongue. Then she used to say, something is there. Vayyam ezhum kandal pillai vaayule. She saw the entire universe while cleaning his tongue on NASA observatory. Inside his mouth. Sir, is this all possible? What are you saying? That is why this is extraordinary. If he is not extraordinary, why will I be spending so many hours for 7 days? I can very well stay in Bangalore. He is extraordinary. Ayyana vaditaalukku. Now, she has to put him to sleep. Again I told you, Yashoda, voice weak. So she wanted to outsource. Outsourcing was the order of the day even then. See, 60-70 years before, I'm sure the elderly people here will agree with me. Even if there was a marriage fixed in the house, the parents had to go buy the provisions. They had to cook. There was no concept of contractor outsourcing to him. Parents had to take the pain. Then 30 years back, this concept of contractor came. He will do everything except Mangalya Dharanam. That boy only has to do. Pattapavu poi neengale kattidungo. நான் அப்புறம் வந்துடுறேன். I'm very busy. I've got a important meeting. So that is contractor. The contractor will send 2-3 mommies. They will bring that harati in that 2 7-up bottles. Mommy, harati! அப்படின்னா உடனே மாமி புஷ்ன்னு அழுத்துவா. You can do that. She will have that rangoli podi ready, everything ready. Then now we have matured into the next stage called the event management. People who want to do marriage in Chennai for destination wedding, they'll come 50 kilometers away to Mahabalipuram. All of them have to come. That is destination wedding. So if I go, I perform for many marriages. Event management companies will say, you perform, I'll go. When I get into that hall, Vanakkam, Namaskaram, Vango. 4 or 5 women with the same uniform. They have paid me 2,000 to say, welcome. Keep quiet and get inside. Because today we don't have relatives to do that job. We have outsourced. So, Yashoda said, my voice is too weak. Let me outsource it. In companies, if you give it only to one vendor, then it may account to being partial. So, same task they will make into modules and give it to 2-3 vendors. So, one vendor she gave. That was Narayana Tirtha. She said, Narayan Tirtha ji, kuch gaiye. Lori, lullaby. Sadhu janadhara sarvabhauma madhava mamavadeva Krishna madhava mamavadeva Krishna Yadava Krishna Yadukula Krishna Ambujalochana Kampu Shubhagriva Bimbadharas Chandra Bimbanana Champeya Nasagra Lagna Sumauktika Sharadas Chandra. Narayana Tirtha said, I shouldn't keep singing alone. Let me pass this baton to, he checked. Next, in Uttukadu, there was a Venkata Kavi. You carry. Maninu Puradhari Rajagopala Maninu Puradhari Kankana Kingini Gana. Uttukadu Kavi said, I will now pass the baton to Periyalvar. Periyalvar said, I won't sing in Sanskritam. நான் தமிழில் தான் பாடுவேன். ஏதோ ஒண்ணுத்துல பாடு. He said, I now made a cradle in pure gold, studded with beautiful rubies and sapphires. மாணிக்கம் கட்டி, வைரமிடை கட்டி, ஆணி பொன்னால் செய்த வண்ணச் சிறுதொட்டில், பேணி உனக்கு பிரமன் விடுத்தந்தான், மாணி குரளனே தாலேலோ. Papanasam Shivan, Chennai said, sir, I want to sing in Chennai Tamil. Chennai Tamila. Kayilendi Shirati Paluti. Kayilendi Shirati Paluti. Tala. என்னதவம் செய்தனை யசோதா எங்கும் நீரை பரபிரம்மம் அம்மா வென்றழைக்க என்னதவம். See, if you come to Krishna Avataram, all the compositions will just flood you. You won't know which one to sing. Then, see, if we have sung in Tamil, what will Kerala think? Alle. ஓ மணத்திங்கள் கிடாவோ நல்ல கோமளத்தாமர பூவோ பூவில் നിറഞ്ഞ മധുവോ പരിപൂർണേന്ദു തന്നെ നിലാവോ പുത്തം പവിഴക്കൊടിയോ ചേരുതത്തകൾ കുഞ്ഞും മൊഴിയോ ചാഞ്ചാടിയാടും മയിലോ Mridu Panjamam Padum Kuilo. The boy was given the lullaby. One day, as Yashoda was working, see, she was a working partner in that Nandagopala dairy products. So, husband was into marketing, she was into boiling. So, she went to the backyard. Suddenly, somebody knocked the door. She came and said, Yaar idu? Kadachidantarhita Pootanatma Kamsa Prayukta Kilakapi Maya. Beautifully dressed one lady came. Who was she? See, Kamsa had a group, V7. Poothana, Baka, Baki, Agha, Pralamba, Keshi, whoever had minimum 100 FIRs, eligible to be his friend. They will next stand in the next election. So, Kadachidantarhita Pootanatma. See, she was a doctorate. See, generally if someone says, what are you doing? Doctorate. What will be your next question? Oh, what did you specialize in? As if we are going to understand. He'll say, I have specialized in the mass transfer operations, especially with some of the laminar flow and all. Very good. What was her specialization? Shuka says, in killing newborn children. Kadachidantarhita Pootanatma Kamsa Prayukta Kilakapi Maya Nidra Paradhina Janeni Shithe Vrajam Yashoda Kritira Vivesha. She said, I lost my child, I need to feed some child. I've come as a wet nurse. I heard that you have a child, madam, in your house. Can I feed your child? Yashoda said, this is a genuine reason. Please take my child. He'll be very happy. You feed him. She kept the boy on the lap. Yashoda, you please carry on with your work. You go inside. She kept the boy. She didn't know it was that boy. She wanted to try every other boy. She kept this boy here. This boy, as she kept the nipple into his mouth, she gave a smirk. She said, you're going to die in a few seconds. This boy smiled back, it seems. Let's see who dies. Amnaya gandharudita spurita daroshtham atsla vilekshana manukshata mandahasam. He smiled. She kept. She had applied a very virulent poison over her bosom. She thought that poison will be sucked. He sucked. But Bhagavatam says something very diametrically opposite to what we have understood of basic biology. He drank milk. See, technically she has not delivered. How will the mammary, the lactating glands be able to secrete milk? But Bhagavatam states he consumed milk because, I'm sure some medical practitioners here may agree, there is a condition called galactoria, where on stimulation, even if the lady is not pregnant, in certain occasions, milk can be secreted. She must have looked at the boy's countenance, she must have developed that momentary matrubhavam, and milk would have been secreted. He sucked that milk. As he sucked the poison and then the milk, he kept sucking, the Jivatma also came along with it. He didn't kill. By mistake, the Jivatma came. Amnaya gandharudita spurita daroshtham matsla vilekshana manukshata mandahasam gopala dimbava pusham kuhana jananyaha pranasya nandanam avaimi parampu mamsam. Now, as the Jivatma came, imagine the process of the Jivatma exiting on day 2 at about 7:25. I spoke about Kapilopadesham, where I said how the Jivatma leaves the body through a process called Tristuna Kshobanam, the chakras I mentioned, then the Jivatma has to go. But if this process is happening at this force, she experienced an excruciating pain when the Jivatma came. Like how Vedanta Deshika says, Gopaya Sambhuya Guhopamakshim Swaghosha Nirhadida Vishwagosham Gata Sumaikshanta Nishacharim Tam Bhima Kritim Bhaimaratim Ivanyam. Never she has experienced this pain before. What is that? Never have I ever. They are in a Devi Vishwakumar. Correct? Like never have I ever, this Jivatma had to come. Gopascha Sambhuya Guhopamakshim Swaghosha Nirhadita Vishwagosham Gata Sumaikshanta Nishacharim Tam Bhima Kritim Bhaimarathim Ivanyam. How was the pain that she experienced? Like the Jivatma in a body that experiences in the dream of the 7th day of the 7th month in the 70th year. Shastram says that night on the 7th day of the 7th month in the 70th year, the dream will be so terrible, Shastram says. It is called Bhaimarathi, that night. To overcome the obstacles of that night, Bhima Ratha Shanti is performed. Bhima Rathi, it is not Bhima's Ratha. Bhima Ratha, why Bhima Ratha? Why can't it be Arjuna Ratha? So Bhima Ratha comes from the root word Bhima Rathi. So she had that pain. She cried out aloud and her body lied on the street, that gully. The entire living room, sofa, divan, everything broke and she lied there. Yashoda heard this thunderous noise. She came running. She saw a huge body lying out. She did not, Krishna, where are you? Technically, I should not say Krishna because on the 12th day that name is given for Vaishya. Baby, where are you? Baby, she started searching. Then she saw some blue color mustard like phenomenon walking on that, crawling on that body. Udhar hai, Nand Gopal ji, idhar aaiye. He put one ladder against her body, climbed up, took that boy, gave it. Now they had to dispose that body. How will they dispose that body? So Nanda Gopal cried out, Pichumani! Opposite house. Raju, Pichu! Yes, Nanda Gopal. Chandramouli, Mr. Chandramouli. Let's cut the body in pieces. As they cut, what they should have seen, oozing blood, smell of our skin. See, we do all alankaram, foundation. Those between the eyebrow and the eyelid, we have to showcase. Tamadbhutam ambuje kshanam. See, Shastram says for the man and the woman, how beautiful should the eyes be? Gambhiramba samudbhuta sumrishtanala ravikara vikasita pundarikadala amala ayate kshanaha. The eyes should extend till the ears, it seems. It should be till here. Nahi hai to kya kare? We will apply collyrium till that. If you see dancers, they will put so much collyrium. High-techs will live because of that. So, they wanted to dispose. That is why this body, Alvar says, Ulle irpadai purambe ittal kakkai votta nai samayam kidade gidir. He says, they say, right, there is a manufacturing defect. We are recalling 2 lakh vehicles. What if Brahma says 3 lakh people I'm withdrawing? Why? Alvar says, by mistake, if he keeps all the organs which are meant to be inside, outside. Imagine. By manufacturing defect, liver is here. Lungs is somehow adjusting. Stomach. Imagine you had no skin. Imagine a situation how we will look. You stand opposite the mirror. Intestines will look so much like that. Ropes. FedEx. Alvar says, by mistake, if the Lord chooses to keep your internal organs outside, you will not find time for anything else because all your time you will be chasing away the birds. Because the birds will start pricking. If they see blood, sense blood, they'll come. Kakkai votta na samayam. Ulle irpadai purambe ittal. Thank God you are saved. So this body we are preserving so well. Her body, when it was chopped, because they had to dispose the body, oozing blood, obnoxious smell, should have been the attributes of that body. But Shuka Brahmam says, her body smelt like chandanam. Agarbatti, that Mangal Deep cycle brand. The question is why? Because his lips touched her. Pavitranam pavitramyo mangalanam scha mangalam. So everybody said, hey, give me one finger. Her finger, please, I want to keep it in my cupboard. It was smelling so well. Now comes the point. I told you about one tatkratu nyayam. You remember on day 2 I said I will talk about this on day 5. Who listens? Over on day 2, day 5. You are telling that this entire series of 7 days is like a semester. For us, every day is a semester. So as the day closes, we will forget. So in Tatkratu Nyayam, whatever you have thought in the last minute, that you will become. So technically, if I think of a deer, I'll become a deer. If I think of a nurse, I'll become a nurse. I think of a doctor, I'll become of a doctor. I think of a dog, I'll become a dog. But if I've been thinking of the dog very well, I may become Salman Khan's dog. Papam with little punyam will become them. So, What if I have been thinking and hearing? Imagine somebody is listening to what I'm saying. Don't worry. Just like that. That Krishna drank milk from Poothana. While I'm saying, somebody's Jivatma leaves the body. And then don't worry. If that they have heard, that is the last what they have heard, Krishna is drinking milk from Poothana. That means they have heard and they have thought about it and the Jivatma is leaving. So technically as per Tatkratu Nyayam, they should be reborn and they should be consuming milk from somebody because they have heard the consumption of milk of a boy from his mother. They should be born again and consume milk. But this Tatkratu Nyayam has an exception, like the L'Hopital rule in maths. If you get indeterminate, 0 by 0, indeterminate, you cannot get that answer technically. So you have to differentiate numerator and denominator separately. Sin x will become cos x will become 1, cos 0 will be 1. So this is an exception to the general rule. So the exception to the Tatkratu Nyayam is this Nyayam where if you listen to Krishna consuming milk from Poothana, you will never have to consume milk from anybody else in your next because you will get moksham. Stanyam pibatvam na punar babhuva. So for every moment of Krishna we have. Next is that Krishna was kept on a beautiful cradle, shakatam, a cradle, and the cradle was kept next to a cart, a broken cart, shakatam, broken cart. So all broken materials in those days used to be kept in the front yard. Here it is kept in the garage. In the US, very rarely I have stepped into anybody's house through the main door. First when I go, it will be garage. And in that garage, there will be one broken ultra grinder, 3-4 cycles. I asked, what do you keep here? Ubayogam illadadalla inga kondu vechurren. Avar வெக்கிறதா இருக்கேன். So here a shakatam, a cart was placed next to this cradle and some of the boys were playing that game. I don't know if you've heard Lagori. Have you heard? Stones will be kept one above the other. They have to hit that ball. The boys were playing Pichumani, Rajamani, Chandramouli. They were all playing. Paathu kongoda, take care of my little boy. And Yashoda went inside the house. This boy was incessantly crying for milk. As this boy was crying with his foot extended, through occult, black magic, it is said that he had empowered the cart, Shakatam, and the Shakatam was coming right with its extension to hit the baby. As it was coming down and the boy kept crying. In Tamil there is a saying. How did the baby cry? Veal, veal, aludhudu. Why did Krishna cry? Because he knew veal, veal, veal. So as Shakatam came, the boy just touched. Little tender feet, not even 10 days that boy is, that little feet touched. That Shakatam went, traveled the troposphere and stratosphere. Sir, what are you saying? Will the little boys push the Shakatam so high when our Talaivar hits 50 villains? All the 50 villains, Cutting Ravi, Soda Bottle, Segar, they will all come. Our Talaivar, he'll just push like this, all 50 will fall. Just this much. And then the hero will walk with that sparks from that transformer. Then we will, in the theater, there will be whistle. Then there will be Tirumanjanam, Sahasra Sirasa, Purusha, Sahasraksha, Sahasrapad, Sabhumim, Vishwato, Vritva, Atyadishtad Dashangulam, or Tirumanjanam Mani. If our Talaivar hits 50 people, nobody questions. When Krishna hits one Shakatam, how is that possible? It is possible. Because even Talaivar worships Krishna. So that Shakatam went. Then later, very few parts fell onto the ground. Again, logically untenable because the entire Shakatam had to fall. But Yashoda was not concerned. She was concerned about that little baby. She said, thank God my child is safe. She took the child inside. But what happened to the Chakatam? Nobody is concerned about the Chakatam. Bhattadri answers in Narayaniyam. He says, where is that Chakatam? Because the Lord's foot touched, it became Shuddha Sattvam and attained Moksham. So if you go to Vaikuntham, when you go to Vaikuntham, as you get inside, on the right hand side in a showcase, Shakatam will be there with a board. The Shakatam which did not become the walking stick to anybody. So you will see the Shakatam. Alongside, you remember, on the left hand side in Vaikuntham, in the showcase, there will be one Ghatam. Bhandam. Pot. Sir, ye kya hai? See, this is not there in Bhagavatam. It is in a book called Ashtaprabandham. While Krishna became a little taller, he used to run and then he used to steal butter. Yashoda thought, I need to teach you a lesson. She started running behind him. He said, my mother is very angry today. I have to hide somewhere. She saw a person who used to regularly sell curd. See, I'm sure, I don't know how many of the youngsters know. 100 years before, there was no refrigerator, no power, right? People used to buy curd. Now also we buy, sir. We don't have time to let the milk ferment. That is different. But in those days, a person used to come outside the house and they used to buy curd. So during those times, a person used to sell and his name was Dadibhanda. Sir, his Bhandam means pot, Dadhi means curd. Dadibhanda, the pot full of curd. But what was his name? See, we won't know his name. For example, a person is selling broomstick. He is walking by the street. What is the name? Todapam. What will he call him? Hey, Todapam! He won't mistake because he knows this is what I'm selling. The problem will come when you call him this when the Todapam is not on his head. So, Dadibhanda was his name. Krishna went and asked, Dadibhanda, she's chasing me, please protect me, Dadibhanda. Dadibhanda said, my pot is empty now, I've stolen the curds, you hide under this, I'll create 2 holes for the oxygen to come and the carbon dioxide to get out. You get somehow adjust within this. I will inverse the pot, don't worry. So Krishna was somehow adjusted. He was a bulky boy. Somehow he got adjusted. That pot was reversed and Yashoda came, Dadibhanda, did you see my son? Dadibhanda was having the pot. He's hitting the pot. Turn. No, I didn't see him. Krishna is looking with his eyes inside. What is he telling? She went running. Krishna, where are you? She went. Then Krishna said from within the pot, Dadibhanda, thank you so much. Now release me. No. Dadibhanda, release me. No. What do you want? Moksham. Krishna asked it, saying, how do you know that I give moksham? Sujata rekhatmaka shankha chakram. On your finger marks I saw shankha chakra mudra. I have heard in some discourse in Frisco, Sujata rekhatmaka shankha chakram tamrodaram tasya kararavindam vilokayantya phalavikrayinya. I have heard that the one who has got shankha chakram will give moksham. Give me moksham. Okay, I'll give you moksham. Release me. No, I will not release you. Why, Dadibhanda? Give moksham even to this pot. Dadibhanda, only for Jivatma we can give moksham. For Achetanam and all we cannot give. No, you have to give. Okay, I will give moksham to Dadibhanda. That is why I said when you go to Vaikuntham, left hand side showcase, that pot will be there. Annikana ஞாபகம் வச்சுக்கோங்க. 4-5 பேரா ஒண்ணா போனேன்னா அவர் அன்னிக்கே சொன்னார், ஞாபகம் இருக்கோ? So Bhattadri says, even Shakatam attained moksham. See, in Rama Avataram, you can't come across these pastimes. Rama's life is very straight and simple. He listened to his father's words. He married his Sita. With that one wife, he had so many problems. Once abducted, next time exile. Lot of problems. In Krishna Avataram, not one wife of Krishna was kidnapped. Z plus security for everybody. So in Krishna Avataram, all the pastimes will be one got moksham, the other got moksham. Why? Acharya says in Krishna Avataram, moksham was for sale. Anybody who came, moksham. See, I was able to cover only till day 5, day 6 of Krishna Jananam. Day 5, day 6 of Krishna Jananam. After Krishna's birth, I've covered only 5 days. That itself has taken this long. Now, thereafter, Shakata Asura Bhanjanam, Trinavarta Vadham, Navanita Chauryam, Ulukhala Bandhanam, tying to the mortar, Govardharo Udharanam, Kaliya Martanam, Keshivadam, Pralambavadam, Rasakrida, Venuganam, Kamsa Vadham, then Muchukunda Stuti, Sandipani Pariksha, all this I have to tell tomorrow. I have close to 7,000 verses of Bhagavatham Saram I have to tell in 2 hours tomorrow. And given my style, where I speak about the content and also the periphery, Kadai and Akaporu, you need to give me those 2 hours tomorrow. So I am sure I have had the opportunity to take photos with many astikas. Some of you may be interested to take photos. Please do it today, because tomorrow, after the program, I have to leave immediately, because I will be giving live commentary for our new Parliament building, which is being opened in Delhi, for Times Now channel. So you can hear me there between 9:30 p.m. and 11:30 p.m. So in your time. So I have to go. So if you want photos, you can stay back. If you want, whoever all got 140, so I'm photo photo. In San Jose, I had one problem, 850 people every day. I used to see the same mommy group every day, because they wanted to take photo every day with their saris. Red sari, blue sari, yeah mommy, they wanted that Panjavarna, all the colors. See, don't do all that here, we don't have time. Okay, so this is the day, 2 more days. Then after that, Sittukurivikena Kattupadu, Tendrele, Unakedu Sonda Vidu, Vidalai. So tomorrow, 6:15, we will begin. Probably even at 6 we can begin. Tomorrow we will have at 6, Saturday. So 6 o'clock, then I will get those 15 minutes. I have to borrow. So 6 o'clock, then the day after, you can assemble here at 9 o'clock. So Sunday, 9 o'clock, 9 a.m. you will have to assemble. So these are the 2 instructions. Thank you so much. Lots to cover in Krishna Avataram. Let's see how much we can cover tomorrow. Kavitarkika Simhaya Kalyana Gunashaline Srimate Venkateshaya Vedanta Gurave Namah Swasti Prajabhyah Paripalayantam Nyayena Margena Mahim Mahishaha Gobrammanebhyah Shubhamastu Nityam Loka Samasta Sukhino Bhavantu Kalyana Rupaya Kalau Jananam Kalyana Datre Karuna Sudhapte Kamvadi Divya Yudha Satkaraya Vatalaya Dhisha Namo Namaste Narayana 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 Narayana
Narayana Narayana Narayana Narayana
Narayana Narayana Narayana Narayana Narayana Narayana Narayana Narayana